make money, money making money, money making money, money making money, money, money making money, manifest, making money, money making money, money making money, money making money. I ain't stressed, making money, money making money, money making money, money making money. Gratitude is my attitude. I'm making money moves. Jewelry in a safe, piggy bank on full. And I'm living life abundant. I'm making money fast. I'm a money making magnet, making cold hard cash. I'm making money. Oh, I am blessed.
That's what that is. 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 Mighty dollar make this dirty world spin. That's what that is. Rose gold team when she grin. That's what that is. I could make a meal times 10. That's what that is. And I don't trust the soul. CTN. That's what that is. If you ain't on your grind, then you shucking. That's what that is. Talk is cheap, but you ain't saying.
Hey everybody, my name is VoodooBae, and I'm bringing darkness to light with alchemizing energy.
All right, welcome. Yes, VoodooBae, I want to welcome you to Alchemizing Energy. Thank you for your time that you're taking to come visit with us today.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so I met you on Facebook a long time ago. I would say maybe about maybe 4 years ago.
Many years ago.
4 or 5 years ago. And since then, you started a cosmetic line and become like a TikTok influencer with over 200,000 followers. Yes, I'm so proud of that. So proud. So tell us a little bit more about yourself. We came to talk about your upbringing and things like that, about the cult-like behavior that you experienced. But before we get into that, I wanted to just get into who VoodooBae is and get into introducing yourself to our audience.
Okay, well, hello YouTube. My name is VoodooBae, or Omitola Iyalaje is my Orisha name. I am a fully initiated Olorisha, daughter of Oshun. I am the owner of VoodooBae Cosmetics. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a business owner. I am also an influencer. My main platform is TikTok, but I've been on Facebook for many years. I built my platform on the restoration of the matriarchy and the dismantling of patriarchy ideology. I'm an advocate for Black women. And, I do many, many things and wear many, many hats. Just depends on which day you catch me on. Sorry, y'all, that's my cat. He's got the zoomies. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry about that. My computer froze up a little bit. So, it's interesting. There's a lot of people that are kind of taking that stance. Since we saw you come out recently, we've seen another young lady, Princella Clark, come out with the same kind of ideology, and a few other content creators. I think Tanya TKO and what's the other girl? I forget what her name is, but she wears the swoop. Her hair is like swooped over. Krista G or something.
Oh,
G.
Cynthia G, I think.
Cynthia G, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, there's like a big uprising of females that are, coming out and talking about these things. So what do you think is the main issue that is happening when it comes down to like female and the male patriarchy? What is kind of happening in that work realm?
Patriarchy in and of itself is the problem. Give me a problem and I can trace it right back to patriarchy. Give me a societal issue, give me anything in our societal structure, we can trace it right back to the foundation of patriarchy. Patriarchy in and of itself is a psychosis, and it can only breed psychosis. And so everything that you see happening in the world, everything that you see going on in the world is a byproduct of that very foundational.
Looks like we lost some audio. Hello? Y'all, listen, the patriarchy that mess with the sound, messing with everything, and see, we can't even get the show going without the patriarchy messing with everything. Right, so we're going to try this again. The patriarchy trying to mess up our show.
Exactly. They didn't want me exposing them.
Right. See, because you were talking about the patriarchy way before a lot of these other women, believe it or not, on Facebook. That's actually how I ran into you, is watching your lives where you were like, giving like, advice and relationship advice and talking about different subjects.
I've been talking about this subject for the better part of 2 decades, to be honest with you. I've been on Facebook. I was on Facebook talking about this for at least 15 years. So it has been awesome and amazing to see the evolution and to finally see women waking up, to finally see this becoming like a movement.
Yes.
But I mean, I've been on the front lines of this thing for a very long time. So we finally here.
Right. But so one of the things that I is the fact that you actually have been in a cult before. The thing that you say when you talk about, that the United Church, the United House of Prayer, is that if you weren't born into this thing, you wouldn't know about this thing, and that really goes. So it sounds like you were raised up. So let's like talk about VoodooBae. Actually, what Akia Ma'at, what's your real your Akia Ma'at was how I knew you, aka Amatola. What is your upbringing? What brought you? What made you actually even be a part of something like this? What's your upbringing? What's your background?
So essentially, like I said, if you wasn't raised in this thing, you probably won't know about this thing because it's very generational. Families are born into this, and then their children, and then their children's children's children. So my great-grandfather helped found the church. Then, of course, my family members were part of it. My grandmother, my father was the one who initially took me to the church from the time I can remember. I grew up in the church. And I always joke and say, thankfully, that my family were sinners. So we were only up to about waist deep, not neck deep. And what I mean by that is we weren't, there every Sunday and every Wednesday, and our whole life wasn't wrapped up. We didn't live in one of their properties and, all of that thing, which, I'm grateful for because it gave me room to actually exit, because so many people are so deep into this thing, generation after generation, that they really don't even have an out. And so, I grew up in the church, going mostly on, convocation, Easter Sundays and stuff like that. But again, which amazes me that if you don't know about this, if you weren't raised in it, you wouldn't know about it, because it's one of the largest churches in the country. They have a church in every major city and several in like Charlotte and these kind of areas like in the South, and they have a big one in DC, and so there's one in every city, but you drive right past it and don't even know it.
Wow. You said your grandfather helped to start the church. What?
Yeah, so he and, Daddy Grace intermingled, and I don't know a lot of the details of that. I just know that that's where our association with them started.
Wow.
And then, it passed on through generations, and my grandmother was a devout member. And then, of course, my father.
So is it like any colorism in the church? Is it more because him being from Cape Verde?
Right.
Cape Verdeans usually don't even consider themselves to be African American.
Right. I didn't experience that personally because there was some of everybody, right? However, when this video went viral, when these videos went viral, I had so many of the members reach out to me, and one of them did make mention that there was this issue with Daddy Bailey because he didn't look like the rest of them. Now, if you go look at McCullough, you go look at Grace, you go look at Madison, they were on the lighter side of things, curly hair, had that aesthetic. Bailey looked completely different than any of the rest of the bishops. And they made mention of that, but I didn't have any firsthand, you know what I mean? Because when I was there, I wouldn't have even been privy to something like that. I do recall this though. All of the maids were pretty little girls. So
little girls. I mean, what age little girl?
7, 8, 9, 10, 11. You know what I mean? Like they go up in the rank, but they're definitely young girls.
And you mentioned that these maids would actually fan Daddy. I mean, let's get a little bit into the story. Like you, for those that didn't see the actual short where she actually talked about like this church, I want you to get into it. Like, what made this church a cult?
Oh, what makes this church a cult? I mean, I think at any junction where you replace God with a human being, with a man, and that man becomes all knowing, becomes the end all be all, and you begin to replace the name of Jesus or the name of God. And for the record, everybody, I am not a Christian. Okay. But however, if you are, right, if you claim to be a Christian and you then begin to replace Jesus or God with sweet daddy, we have veered off into the.
When they changed the whole Bible and put Sweet Daddy in there, and Sweet Daddy said,
like the songs that they sing, the hymns that they sing. When you go into the church, there's a picture of Jesus somewhere on the side wall. But when you walk into the church, at the foot of the church, and above the throne that he sits in is huge pictures of Sweet Daddy. They wear his pin and picture, and and I didn't deem this church a cult, right? I didn't decide that they were a cult. The powers that be did. So here we are.
Who is the powers that be though? Well,
whoever they are, I don't know, but whoever they are.
Somebody said it was a cult. I don't know, I'm sure who, but somebody said it was a cult. I'm not gonna say nothing, but
that's why I said in my videos, here's the information, you decide for yourself.
Is it a cult or is it not a cult? Right.
Is it not? It's for you to decide. I'm gonna give y'all the information, and then
honey, they sing a song, Daddy is the best
thing.
Yes. Ever happened.
Yes.
Daddy is the best thing. And they was getting down. Daddy is the best thing then you want to talk about the craziest thing is to find out that James Brown actually attended this church.
James Brown was a member of the House of Prayer, and that musical prowess, because let me just say this, there are no bands like the hip-hop bands. There are no bands like the House of Prayer bands, and they create some amazing musicians, James Brown being one of them. That zest, those horn sections that he had, that was all from the House of Prayer.
Were they actually active members of the House of Prayer that were backing him up? Like were they allowed to play backup for James Brown, or were they only allowed to play?
I don't know what his band members were, and if he took any of the horn players from the House of Prayer, I don't know. He was a member himself. Now, who he took with him, I don't know.
Did he get some of his, you think some of the style of preaching, that get up? Was that?
Yes.
That's awesome.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Yes.
So
yes.
That Sweet Daddy, and also the King James Brown. Wow. James Brown got his whole swag from Sweet Daddy.
Right.
Wow. So which Sweet Daddy's pictures on the thing? Does it change up every year, or is it just constantly?
No, it doesn't change up every year. They are Sweet Daddy until they make their transition.
So it's like the Pope.
I'm sorry?
It's almost like the Pope.
I guess you would say that, yeah. So they're Sweet Daddy until they pass away, and then a new Sweet Daddy is elected or appointed, or, whatever the process is. They just recently got a new Sweet Daddy because Bailey passed away unexpectedly during convocation.
What? During the service?
So convocation is, the time of the year, and he travels around and goes to the different churches, in different cities and all of these things. And it's a big thing. And during that time, he passed away.
Wow.
Not at church. I believe he passed away at home. I don't know the details.
Man, but I've been watching some actual interviews with other members of House of Prayer, and how they talked about that they didn't get paid. The band members didn't get paid. They'd have to practice for hours on end, throughout the week. You'd have thought it was man, just their whole life, from the age of 7. This one guy, I think he was a piano player. Oh no, or a drummer. He said he had to practice from the age of 7 every single day for that band, to be in that band.
Absolutely.
And he didn't learn how to life or anything. It was all by ear. They had to learn by ear, how to play by ear.
Mm-hmm. Shout out to the UHOP bands, because you can't do nothing but give them their flowers. They're amazing, truly amazing musicians, and not for nothing, they are the spirit behind that church. They drive the spirit that moves in that church, and it encompasses their whole life. From, again, the time they are children, a horn is put in their hands, and that is what they do, and they dedicate their life to that.
And another thing I heard is that, from people that have actually been to the church, is they're not just dancing normal. It's a club scene. It's almost like they're at the club. When they get the music going, they said they even got some tight little red out. She said that she went over there and they had a red dresses on. I'm not sure why. Everybody had on red. And
I don't know. That could have been their usher colors. I don't really know. But if you've ever heard a UHOP band, it is not what you would normally know as gospel music, right? The only thing that it can be compared to would be a New Orleans brass band, right? That's the sound. It echoes brass bands. And so it is a party, essentially a party for Sweet Daddy.
So that band is just playing throughout, and then they're and then that doesn't bring a huge spirit and get everybody hyped and crunk, and I also heard that there was a lot of I don't know, kind of that people in that church only kind of hang out amongst people within that church.
Very common. They hang out amongst each other. They date amongst each other. They, marry amongst each other. Because can you imagine meeting somebody randomly on the street and be like, hey, come to my church. And by the way, we call our bishop Sweet Daddy. And the average person would be like, what the hell are you talking about?
Right. And then, right? And then to go to the church and hear instead of Jesus is the best thing, then Daddy is the best thing.
Correct. You would get your ass up
during COVID, they were becoming super spreaders.
Mm-hmm. I shared, one of the members sent me the letter that was sent out to them from Sweet Daddy, essentially saying, you better have my money.
Right. You gotta still pay, even if you don't cut, you gotta still pay them tithes.
Correct.
So tell me how like the whole money part of it was. I heard that they pretty much used to cart him around a chariot as he just took the money out of people's hands and they like just.
Correct. Absolutely correct. He, would show up in his Cadillac with his procession of vehicles and, get whisked in his chariot and red carpet and all the things, you know what I'm saying? And people would hold up money and they would come by, he would come around and take the money from them and they would fall out and catch the Holy Ghost. And, it was a sight to see.
You know what? He had a church in Detroit. I'm not just now realizing that. That is the story I was told by my mentor about a guy named Sweet Daddy. Oh my, I'm just now putting it together that this is the same guy. He had a big church in Detroit. And I think he was talking about the complication with the whole thing with the Cadillac and things like that. My mentor Mike Banks was telling me about this. That is interesting. So considering, I think there was a whole expose about how they kicked out some old lady out of her apartment. There's so much property that this church owns.
Yes. It's crazy, and a lot of people will sell that as this great thing, right? Oh, they own those apartment buildings, they put their members in there, they do this, they do that. And true indeed. But when that becomes the jail you gonna rot in, is it really a good thing? So when I made these videos, right, the first one I made was a Stitch of Jasmine's video. I didn't put any extra into this video. It wasn't something that I curated. I didn't think about it. I wasn't, you know what I mean, going out of my way. I didn't intend for it to go viral, is what I'm saying. And it went viral. The reason I kept making videos was because immediately it went viral, members started reaching out to me with their stories, right? And talking about how they couldn't get out, talking about how their whole family was involved in this, how they live in these housings, and if they don't participate in the church or if they speak out, how they were attacked, how they will get kicked out, how they'll be ostracized from their family, how, and that was what made me keep talking. That's what made me keep doing videos.
So give us an example of like one of the families that and why would they kick them out? Is it because they were unable to pay or give money anymore?
I mean, you have to be an active participant. I mean, obviously, if you're getting a letter sent out during a global pandemic that tells you better bring your butt to church and bring me my tithes, I think we get the gist, right? So you can't just not participate. That's not how that works. And again, because these members kept reaching out to me and telling me their stories was the reason that I kept making videos. The video took on a life of its own. I didn't put much thought into it in the beginning, right? But when you have so much of your life wrapped up in one place, and this place has deep ties. I've gotten death threats. Wow. I have been threatened. You know what I'm saying? Countless times because of these videos. And there's been so many, go to my videos and go through the comments. You'll see people saying, oh my God, I can't believe you're speaking. I can't believe you're saying this. Oh my God, you better watch out. You better be careful. Why would I need to be careful? Why?
For a Christian church.
Right. Why should I be afraid of a Christian church? What is going to happen?
Wow.
And that just proves the point.
That's a cult. Only a cult.
I didn't deem them a cult, but y'all sure act like cult members. Y'all sure. And I didn't share anything. There's a lot of things that I knew and know that I didn't share. Because for me, it was like, unless you had actual receipts, actual things that could be put out, I wasn't going to say it. Whether I knew it to be true or not, I wasn't going to say it, right? So I held a lot back. Everything that I shared in those videos are literally things that you could just go and if you participated, you could see it, with the exception of that letter, right? Because that was only sent to the members. But other than that, Everything else was like I just brought eyes to the situation. But if you walked in, and not that you could, but if you walked into any one of those churches, you could see anything that I talked about.
So are regular people allowed to go into the church, or do you have to be a member first? Is there like a vetting before you can even come into the church?
So you can go in, but if you walk in and they don't recognize you, you can best believe somebody's going to walk up to you and be like, who are you? Who's your family? Where did you come from? How did you know about us? How did you get here?
What?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Oh man. So yeah, wow. So it's very exclusive, this church. Like, it's definitely family oriented. You cannot just walk up in there and be and just.
I mean, you can. I mean, the doors are there. You can go in, but you're definitely not going to go unnoticed.
Wow.
You can't just, yeah.
And you better give us some money too on top of that. So.
I mean, the plate gonna go around. I suggest you put some in it.
So let me there's a lot of people like asking, what kind of church is this? What is this? What are we talking about here? So it's called the Universal House of Prayer for All People. And they have these enormous churches, as you can see here, all throughout the United States. Okay, it's almost like its own sector of church. You understand what I'm saying? This is not a joke here. This is like almost a multi-million-dollar organization. They have them all. Sweet Daddy Grace is this is Sweet Daddy Grace. Okay, I mean, and he started this church. So yeah, I mean, Sweet Daddy. This is a real thing. It really exists. He has churches all over the United States. This is how it looks. Okay, these are the type. Look. These are enormous churches. You understand what I'm saying? Hold on, I'm trying to bring it up. Let me show you guys. These are huge. You understand? These are huge churches. Okay, so this is not just something I'm just what? It's a joke. No, this is a big deal. Okay, so yeah. So what she's talking about is not just fabrication. This is something that started in the 20s and has now become a huge conglomeration of churches throughout the world. So let's go. The one thing I saw it was an old lady. She was in her 70s. The story was, and I guess something happened to where she was unable to pay tithes anymore. Hey, Peach Tea. She was unable to pay tithes, and so they just put her stuff out on the street. And she had been living in that housing place for 40 years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I don't need to explain that. It explained itself, didn't it? I mean, there are many stories. I didn't even get into in my videos the financials of it all. I talked about, the passing of the money. I talked about, some of the properties that they own or whatever, but I didn't get into some of the more salacious things that have happened when it comes to those finances. But you're talking about millions and millions and millions of dollars of property. And, there are cafeterias and food and restaurants alone, not to mention the countless mansions and land and, just all the things that they do. And I know they do things in their community, for some of their members, but to paint it as something overarchingly good would be extremely disingenuous.
Mm. Right. Anybody that would take out a 70-year-old woman because she's on Social Security and can't afford to keep up her regular tithe amount, and you just throw her out on the street. That's terrible, right?
It is terrible. And if it's about the church, and making sure that your members have someplace to live, wouldn't an elderly woman qualify? Because there's more than enough money. There was no reason to kick her out. It's not like the rent, the property mortgage wasn't being paid or whatever. You get what I'm saying? Her little money that she would have paid wasn't going to make or break anything. So what is the reason? Right?
So earlier in this conversation, we talked about patriarchy, right? Now, from what I understand, most churches are usually primarily run by women. They're attended by women. is this church the same where it's pretty much ran? Like, I mean, even though you have daddy at the top, right? Are women at the backbone of this whole church, or is it mainly male dominated?
So let me just preface this answer by saying this. A woman's presence does not a matriarchy make. Patriarchy lives on the back of women. So even if there's women present, it doesn't really matter because what they are upholding is the patriarchy. So let me just say that before I answer this. There are plenty of women, you know, on the usher board and the maids and all the other things that they do. But I mean, at the head of leadership is definitely men. But at the foundation, it is still ran on the backs of women. Still. And that's the way patriarchy functions. You have to have women participants, the pygmishas, if you will, that are willing to stand guard and you know, do the due diligence. So they are there and they participate, but at the head of it, the men, you know, do run it. I don't think that I have ever seen a woman preacher in the house of prayer. I have never seen one. I'm not saying there isn't one. If somebody knows of one, please correct me. I have never seen one. Now, there could be. I've never seen her. So, yeah.
Administratively, though, a lot of times it's usually women that kind of run the back offices of places. Like even Motown, for instance, was ran primarily by women. You know, the church has been generally, but you're saying that the women are not allowed to be at the pulpit. You'll never see a female.
I don't know if they're allowed or not. I've never seen one.
There's not. So you don't think there's gonna ever be a sweet mama up in the house of prayer?
Ain't never gonna be a sweet mama.
There's no change.
I can tell you that. I can tell you that for sure. There's never gonna be a sweet mama.
So, how do they like pass down who's gonna be the next sweet daddy? Because if you say that one sweet daddy passed away, how do they determine who's the next sweet daddy?
I believe there is some sort of election. I believe there is a board. I was under the impression before that the previous sweet daddy selected or nominated the next one. But from what I understand now, there's some sort of board or he's elected.
By who? By the people of the church or just by?
No, I think just by the board, not by the people of the church. I don't believe, but don't quote me. So if you are an upstanding member, citizen of the United Health Prayer, put it in the chat.
Right. Right. Wow. This is a huge church that's probably worth billions.
Correct.
If you combine all of it, I mean, it probably puts it's probably up there with the Scientology and the Jehovah's Witness churches and Mormon. Like as far as the amount of churches that they have, 200 or more churches countrywide, statewide. And are they also have them overseas, internationally as well?
I don't know. That's a great question. I don't know. I know they have over 200 churches here in the U.S., one in every major city. And like I said, several. And Charlotte is kind of like a hub for them. But they're in Savannah, they're in Charlotte, they're in L.A., they're in D.C., they're, in South Carolina, pretty much everywhere you can think.
So okay, you started off in the house of prayer, and now you're called VoodooBae. How does one transition from such an exclusive church with such a tight rein on people where you can't do anything, your money goes to the church, you only talk to people that's within the church, this basically like so tightly wound where you pretty much are spending every single day at this church, correct? Because I'm sure the church like that. So I just want to make this plain just to get you an idea of how big this church is. So it started in 1919, and its churches are known for having services 7 days a week. It has 137 congregations across 29 states and the District of Columbia. The headquarters is in Washington, D.C. Okay? So that's how many churches they have. So this is not just some BS. Like, what church is that? No. This is like a huge organization. Okay. And it started in 1919, and her family was actually a part of it, like her grandfather, great grandfather. So this is not just a average interview. We're talking to the offspring or person that, you know, her great grandfather was one of the creators of the church. Let's go. You gotta go to. They probably have a program every single day that you gotta go to, especially kids. They don't keep you in that church. Monday gonna be Bible study, Tuesday Bible study, Wednesday choir rehearsal, the dance, the whatever team, and they gonna make sure there's an activity, and you get paid for each one little thing, knick-knack stuff. You know, they stay in your pocket. You know.
Yeah, that's why I said early on. Thankfully, my family was sinners, so we were only about waist deep into the church, not neck deep. So because my father was the way he was, we weren't there every day all the time, right? So it put me in, and my mother wasn't a member. So that was also the thing. So when my parents split, I no longer went to the church because I was with my mom. And so, you know, I didn't go anymore because my father was the one who I went with. And, you know, once we were not living in the house with him anymore, that ended. So, but I was always a curious one. I was always the one asking questions. I was always the one that was like, yeah, this don't make no damn sense. Okay. And why are we calling this man Sweet Daddy? I'm so confused. And I just never was really fully with it, to be honest with you. You know what I mean? I always was kind of side-eyeing the whole thing. Love the music, love the food, you know, whatever, whatnot. But I never was bought in 100%, which is, you know, the reason why I was able to leave. And I left when I was fairly young. I was a young teenager, 12, 13, when my parents split. So, you know, it made it easier for me to leave.
So what made you get into African spirituality? That's a huge leap from being in the house of prayer, a Christian, not only just a regular Christian, but into like a Christianity where it's almost like you worship Sweet Daddy, to Ian Ifa, a high priest of Ifa. How does that transition one make?
Oh, was it a journey?
Clear this up. So this is Sweet Daddy Grace. I'm not sure who other people are talking about. Born in 1881 on the Cape Verdean island of Brava, Marcelino Manuel del Graca, later known as Sweet Daddy Grace. Okay. All right. That was his name, Manuel del Graca. All right. Arrived at 23 and became a charismatic religious leader and businessman. He founded the United House of Prayer for All People, which grew to over 375 churches, 23 states, and 67 cities with more than 3 million followers. The organization became a multi-million-dollar empire worth 25 million, making Daddy Grace the richest Black bishop in America. His church offered a space for creativity and opportunity where he excelled at building something from nothing, flamboyant, iconic. So this is like his church is kind of how he would run it down, and he just look. I mean, it looks like, come on now. These are the images from the congregation and everything. I don't know what's going on here. Like, I don't know what's going on here. Are they picking him up and holding and carrying him? And this is him outside. I mean, he has this money in his hand with his long fingernails. He was known for that, with the long fingernail. Daddy Grace. Like, this is the bands. This is the playing their music. So yeah, that's what was going on. Okay. And he was really well known for his fingernails that he would get done, and they was long and everything like that. So this is who we're talking about here. This is Sweet Daddy Grace from the United House of Prayer. So I'm not sure whoever you're talking about, but that is who we're talking about. All right. So let's go back into this conversation. So let's go.
So I'm gonna just say this, and they can be mad if they want. Churches like this, we think all that's going on is Jesus, but I can tell you right now that it's a lot of other things going on in them walls besides just praising Jesus. Now you can take that however you want it, but I know what I know, and I know what I felt, and I know what I saw, right? I was always a spirituality seeker, right? And anybody who has ended up in an African traditional spiritual practices understands that it's a matter of destiny. They found me before I ever knew they existed, right? I met somebody one day and they asked me a question. They were like, how could the same people that oppress you give you God? And they were speaking about Christianity in general. They weren't speaking about the house prayer. And that question planted a seed and took me on a journey, because I was like, how could they? What did my ancestors believe prior to enslavement? And it certainly wasn't no Jesus. And so that was where the journey began. And when I left Christianity, my first stop was Comedics, because I think back then that was all of our first stop, right? And I began studying under some of the greats like Bobby Hemmett and Phil Valentine and M. Siddiqui and Jordan Maxwell. And I used to go to these lectures. This was before the internet. So we used to have to actually go to lectures and sit for 12 hours, with a pen and paper and a tape recorder and take notes. And I just was always a seeker of spiritual knowledge and understanding. I'm a life past 7, so that was my judge. And it started from there. And I've told the story many times about how I ended up on the mat for the first time. I was going through some things, and I, had been going through it for a couple of years, and I ended up speaking to my best friend, and she sent me to a sister named V. Kali, and this is in LA, and I was in the conscious community. I was a proper hoteptress at the time, right? And
Hoteptress.
a proper hoteptress, honey. And I was going through something, and I was like, I just need a reading. I need somebody to tell me what's going on. And so she sent me to this man who I now know was the Baba Lorisha. I didn't know what Ifa was at the time, which was interesting because I was actually surrounded by people who were in Ifa. Shout out to Sister Ifa, who she's an ancestor now. But I had been around her and I didn't have any clue what Orisha was. I had no clue. I'd never even heard of that. And I went and I got the reading. I sat down on the mat. He threw the shells. The first thing he said to me was, one day you're going to sit on the other side of these shells. And I thought he was crazy. I was like, what the hell are you talking about? And what are you finna do with that bird? And I'm out of here. Peace. And 10 years later, I was in LA at the time. I ended up in Atlanta. And 10 years later, just as it had been told to me on that mat, I was, I met somebody, and then the rest is history. And I was on my way to be initiated into Ifa. And obviously there's a lot of details in between there, but essentially that's how it happened. I got one divination by happenstance. I was told that I was going to be a priest, forgot about it, went on about my life, moved to a whole nother city across the country, randomly met somebody in a strip club of all places. And then before you know it, I was on my way to Nigeria to be initiated into Ifa, and that was in 2010.
That's crazy. So you went to Nigeria. Did you know who you were going to Nigeria with, or did you just go take a leap of faith?
So I had met a Babalawo here, and he introduced me to his Oluwo. And I had a sister friend of mine, Sister Olabisi. She is also an Egu now. She made her transition. Her and I went together. I had met them here in the States, right? We had done some work here in the States, but I had been to Africa before. I gave birth to my daughter in Ghana, so I had been to Africa before, but I had never been to Nigeria. I didn't know any of them, like that. And so in essence, yeah, I took a leap of faith, but I wasn't afraid. Like I knew clearly what I was doing, and I was following my Ori. And yeah, made Ifa in 2010, made Egbe in 2012, initiated to West African Voodoo in Owida in 2013, made Oshun 2018, made Olokun 2021. So it's a continuing journey. But it all began with one divination in like 1996 or 7-ish.
So what?
Uh-oh, you broke up.
To it in voodoo.
You totally broke up.
Voodoo. You say you got initiated into voodoo.
To West African voodoo, which is not the same as Haitian voodoo, right? But more so connected to like Mami Wata in Benin Republic.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Of
Okay. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you.
I'm sorry, I had to take my daughter, so I was like transitioning from phone to phone.
It's okay.
Yeah, so voodoo is Mami Wata. What does that mean?
You're not familiar with Mami Wata, which is another divinity out of Benin. Another ocean water deity.
Yeah, the audience might not be. We need to educate the audience.
Oh, so sorry. I forget that I'm talking to them, not you. Mami Wata is?
Right.
Essentially, Mami Wata is another divinity. I did not initiate into Mami Wata, but to give a name to something that they could associate with West African voodoo, Mami Wata is something that they would understand. So she's another ocean divinity. Yeah.
Similar to like Yemaya or something in Ghana.
Similar, yes. Go look her up. Different energy, like different energy, but in essence, similar.
Okay. And what made you have to? So it looks like you went to Nigeria. You got your Egbe, you got all these different orishas and crown and everything. And then what turned you to get the stuff in voodoo? Like, what made you get into that? Like, did you meet someone and they said, "Hey, you can do this," or did it come in a reading? Like, how did it even? It's
all destiny. It all comes out in that way. I was never seeking those things. Some people find out about it and they're looking. I was never. It always found me, and I just heeded the call. So we have a saying that the Orisha's words do not fall on the ground. When something is told to me on the mat or in divination, I listen.
Right. So explain to them what the mat is. Because you're saying the mat. They might not know what the mat is.
Right. To sit on the mat, when we do divination, there's a literal mat that we sit on, but it is also a phrase that we use as a metaphor. To sit on the mat means to sit at the feet of the Orisha and get idasa or get dafa, get divination, get a reading.
Right, and so Gafan reading is very detrimental or very central part of like the E5 tradition, correct?
Correct. Correct. I mean, it is, it is the mouthpiece of the Orisha.
Mm. And E5 being an Orisha itself speaks to the person about his or her destiny, correct?
Correct. Orumila is an Orisha like every other Orisha. Ifa is the binary system.
The binary system. Interesting. So just like a computer, right? Zeros and ones, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, all computer systems are fashioned after Ifa binary system. That is where they get the code from.
So when you decided to get into this religion, coming out of Christianity, what was the what kind of a backlash did you experience?
None, really. Not me. So I know a lot of people, and I just say that for me because I was pretty much a rebel my whole life. I did whatever the hell I wanted to do and flew by the seat of my own drum, right? So I didn't deal with a lot of that. Now, of course, in general life, because I was really immersed in the Black conscious community prior to initiating into Orisha, right? And I didn't have a lot of super uber Christian friends. Now, on a general basis, yeah, people had said what they had to say, and I was doing this thing before, Beyonce made it popular, right? So on a general basis, but I didn't experience that heavy like in my family necessarily, because they was just like, oh, she's just being her, you know what I'm saying? She always been on some so just another thing.
I have a question too. Is that okay? So we talk about patriarchy. We talk about it in church, even though that church is more of a cult-like, group. Most Christian churches are headed by men, with the women kind of like running things and kind of like running things. Is African spirituality any different?
Say it again.
Is African spirituality any different when it comes to patriarchy, when it comes to the men and how they run things?
So the unfortunate truth is that patriarchy is in everything, everywhere. And it has seeped itself into everything. And if you don't identify it, then you would think that that is the way the tradition is supposed to be, but it's absolutely not. This is why we see this elevation of Ifa or Urumila and the Babalawo to this place of superiority in these traditions. This is patriarchy. This is the byproduct of patriarchy inside of Orisha tradition itself. Because essentially what we know is that the Dilogun, right, the Irin Dilogun, which is the Kari cell divination, predates the Ikin and the Opwele, which is the divination system of the Babalawo. The Olokan and the Olorisha predate them. And who were those priests? Women. And if you get into the dogma, I'm not religious, I'm spiritual. If you get into the dogma, then you participate in the patriarchy that is inside of African traditions, African traditional spirituality as it pertains to Ifa or Orisha practice. But if you understand the esoterics, if you understand the foundation of this thing, then patriarchy and those ideologies really have no place. And things have been manipulated and twisted in order to elevate men in this tradition, in the culture, and in everywhere. And we have to actively fight against that. And that's why I tell women all the time, if you're coming into this tradition, find a place where women are in leadership, not where they are in servitude, where they are in leadership. Because otherwise you are just participating in patriarchy all over again.
Would you say that's with every spirituality? Because I tend to think that women are more spiritual than men.
They are. They absolutely are. And that was always known, that women are spiritually superior to men. And that, and we always know that. We always knew that, which is why there have been things done to bind women, to put them in these subservient positions, to keep them from having the power. I mean, that's why those things are done.
Right, because in the Christian church, a woman's not even allowed to supposedly be on the pulpit, right? But
Exactly.
in the daddy church, there'll never be a mommy, a big sweet mommy, a big sweet mama, or whatever.
There will not.
Right.
There absolutely will not.
And will there ever be a female pope? I'm sure not. No, but
I'm sure not.
The nuns pretty much, you know, hey, they'll pray for you. They'll in a group and as females and dedicate their whole lives to virginity and this, that, the other, whatever they're doing. And then you have, like, when you go into the Baptist church, you have all the big mamas that are kind of supporting that pastor. Like, if you actually look at the whole construct of spirituality, women are the driving force.
Mm-hmm.
So so it's interesting to find that somehow a man would place himself at the top of that and would to be worshipped.
It's ridiculous, but it can only stop when women stop participating in it. That's, I mean, you know, men gonna do whatever we allow them to do. And I will always tell people this: when men are in power, women are in danger. That is what it is. It has been proven time and time again. And these pastors, preachers, and babalawos get away with so much, it doesn't even make sense. And now, as we see this movement with women, this awakening of women, we women priests, we are out here, we are active, we are running our houses, we are doing the thing, right? And if you're coming into these traditions, find us. Get in a safe space with women where you can be elevated to, you know, the place that you need to be and taught properly. A person who is trying to oppress you cannot give you freedom and liberation through spirituality. And I've told this story several times about this Babalawo that worked at my temple, and he had just had a baby. And so we were all congratulating him, and his face was kind of like, you know, squeezed up. And I was like, so what's wrong? And he says, well, I had a girl, and, you know, and I was like, so what's wrong with having a girl? And he was like, well, I'm a Babalawo. I wanted to have a boy so that I could teach him Ifa. And I said, well, you know, Inishashi, we crown Iyanifa. Why don't you just initiate her to Ifa and teach her Ifa? And he says, oh no, you can't teach a woman Ifa deep, because then she will puff up her chest and won't obey her husband. The silence. You could have heard a mouse fart. Everybody was looking at him, looking at me, looking at him, looking at what she finna do. He no longer works at our temple. But I would just say this: it was a firsthand look into what I just said. The same people that want to oppress you cannot give you liberation. How could a person who believes that by teaching the very thing that you are coming there to learn would make you not obey a man? They'll never give it to you. You cannot liberate somebody while trying to oppress them. And women have to understand, just because, and I had to learn this, just because you're coming into African spirituality does not mean that you are not dealing with patriarchy, because it is the most stealth, diabolical psychosis that affects us globally. It is everywhere and in everything.
You know, and it's interesting. One part of like that Ifa aspect of, you know, the Ian Ifa, that story, if people don't know, there's a thing called Odu, which is actually the word, right? Mm-hmm. People say that if you're a woman and you get initiated, you cannot see Odu because Odu is jealous, and Odu is the wife of Orunmila, and she's jealous, and I guess she'll try to kill you if you look at her, some kind of crazy story. And it's like, what?
Oh, and this is, you know, and again, the five evangelists and the dogma and all of this, and they will argue this point, right? But here, I'm an Ori evangelist. And Ori is the thing that we turn to first and foremost.
And what is Ori?
Ori is your head, that voice inside of your head. And when you tell me some nonsense and my Ori says, baby, I don't think so, that don't make no damn sense, right? So the whole old story of Vodou, it doesn't make any logical sense. At the end of the day, how are men going to tell women that they cannot see women, womb, that which we are, you are now gatekeeping from us. You are not going to ever tell me that men were assigned with being the guardians of the womb and the woman. No, it is being coveted because it is the power. And they know the power of the word in the womb, which is Vodou. And I went round and round about this, and I don't even argue with them anymore because you can't tell me what I already know, right? And I'm not religious. So whatever.
But you know what? If you
Believe
think
whatever you want. Believe whatever you want, but it's a no for me. And at the end of the day, I had this, like, I hate this word download, but I had this epiphany. And I was like, what if Vodou is the woman who's been kidnapped and being held hostage? And they made up this story so that nobody would come looking for her.
wow.
And it just sat on my spirit like, wow. What if it, what if it's our job to free her, right? Because at the end of the day, you cannot tell me that I cannot see myself.
Wow.
So there you go. And that is a controversial thought. That is a controversial thing, but it is what it is. And I am for returning these traditions and the world in general back to its natural state. And we are living in the upside down. So be mad at your mother.
And it's the year, what is the year of the age of Aquarius, and so the women are starting to kind of like come out and like be like, wait a minute, this ain't right. What I'm being told is not right. I don't believe
right.
it. Whereas before we're doing that. And also, I was going to say is that if you actually equate Vodou in that whole story, it's like, you know what, in the beginning, if you go to Christianity, in the beginning, the word was God, the word was with God. Wait, the word was with God and the word was God.
Correct. Correct.
So that means that we can't see God? Is that what they're saying?
The Black woman is God. The divine feminine, the feminine energy is God. And I don't care. The divine feminine doesn't have an equal opposite. We only have creations of and mutations of us. And so at the end of the day, the word, women speak incantations. We give birth to things through our words and through our wombs. I am not so dogmatic that my Ori doesn't work and that I believe every single thing that you lay at my feet without critical thinking. No. And I don't suggest any woman does that with any spiritual practice. I don't care what it is. If it don't sit right in your spirit, ask questions and ask more questions until it makes sense. And if it don't make sense, don't eat it, sis.
Listen, I'm going to be having a young lady on here called the Pashada, and she was a part of the Hebrew Israelites.
Ooh, Lord.
We are doing a cult-like behavior on her, and I would love for you to be there. So I'm not sure if you got to see some of the things. This series I'm doing, I'm talking to different women that have been in these cults. And the series is called Cult-Like Behavior. The first person I interviewed was a lady that was in the Dr. York, the Malachi Nuwapian Nation. And it's just baffling to me how these cults, they start off, I'm not sure if the person starts off with a good thing in mind, and then it gets out of control, and then it becomes a weird sexual thing, where because once they get this so much power, they want to exert power, especially over young girls. Mm-hmm. And I never understood that,
Absolute power corrupts absolutely.
And especially if they begin to abuse the women.
It's always that. It's always that. It is always that. I don't care what belief, what system, Christianity, Hebrew Israelites, the Yorkians, the Nuwapians, the Babas, I don't care. They all do the same when they get a taste of power. It all ends up with the same intention: access and abuse and control of women. Full stop.
Wow.
We see it time and time again. We don't have to make it up. We can literally just go and see it. And it has nothing to do with race, creed, color, social status, financial status. It has nothing to do with that. It is male centered because you find this behavior globally. It doesn't matter culture. It does not matter. They do this shit wherever they go.
Wow. Man, so what is your suggestion? I mean, like I said, we have people that have been, like, we talked about the Night House of Prayer. We talked about your journey into African spirituality. What was the actual reason why you chose that over like the church or like into like the organized religion?
Destiny. And there are things about African spirituality that I love. One of the main things that I love is that it's not one size fits all. It's about destiny. The wine that makes one man laugh may kill another. It's all about you. It's about connecting with the you, which is your Ori. Speaking of Ori, come to my Ori class on February 25th, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
We're about to wrap this up because we only been doing this for an hour, but I wanted to like to really get like a great closing when you talk about all these different things. I wanted to like talk about what led you into these things in your early life, and then where you are now, and what your plans are. One thing that you talk about is like men are emotional. So you have T-shirts that say emotional, HEMOTIONA. So let's talk. So let's where is VoodooBae right now?
Where am I right now? I am on the front lines of creating the blueprint for the matriarchy moving forward. The solutions to the problem. We've identified the problem. We've talked about the problem for long enough. What are we as women going to do about it? What are we creating together that is going to be our solutions, looking to each other, creating sisterhoods, creating spiritual houses and systems and structures that protect us? We are on the front lines of a revolution that is shifting this power structure. And we have to know what we're doing. You can't know where you're going if you don't know where you've been. So creating a blueprint of understanding of what a matriarchy looks like, because a lot of people think that just the presence of women makes a matriarchy, and it does not. But helping women unpack their internalized misogyny, misogynoir, their internalized patriarchy that they, perpetuate on themselves and other women, learning how to be in sisterhood, healing the mother wound, all of those things. That's what I'm investing my time and energy, and everything that I'm doing moving forward is in line with that. I have a book coming out, The Power and Promise of the Feminine. And, it just focusing on healing women, because when we heal, when we change, everything else changes.
So there's other women out here that are kind of like along the same lines. However, they feel like men should be eradicated altogether. Like, you have like your Priscilla Clarks that are pretty much like, we just need to do away with the men altogether. And men are incapable of love. They're completely incapable. And then, but then you got women that have little boys. So there's some people have like a conflict within that thing,
Mm-hmm.
But what do you say about that? Do you think that is that also a way to kind of go about it, or are we being a little too extreme when we go that way? Or what is your answer to like how these women should come together? Should they be that extreme? Should it be that?
I understand the extremism, because I understand we're in extreme circumstances. That extreme response is not for nothing. Like, we didn't just make that shit up, right? We've been under extreme attack and warfare for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. So I understand women like that, right? I get it. I would say this. I don't feel like women should be investing any time and energy into helping, healing, or fixing grown-ass men, right? You want to do something, you care about men or males, you have male children, fix yourself and raise a generation of men that are outside of the psychosis of patriarchy. Because you cannot have men that are not everything that Priscilla talks about, that are reared in this psychosis. You cannot do it. It's not possible. It cannot. So when she says they're not capable of love, these men, she is absolutely correct. Right? So
it's up to us as women, right? Because we are the child, the people that give birth to men. Is it also our responsibility that men are who they should be, or that did we make a mistake somewhere as women?
I don't know if we made a mistake, but I will say this: patriarchy was forced onto us through violence, right? So at some point we had to do what we had to do to survive. And then we pass that down to our daughters inside of the patriarchal structure. And then we only taught what we knew, and we became what we were taught, right? We have to break that cycle because that is not our nature. And so that being the case, we have the responsibility of undoing what was done to us so that we can heal ourselves and the generations moving forward. We own the wounds. And I'm sorry, we can talk about men's responsibilities and two things can be true at the same time, but we can't fix them. We can only fix us. And they can't do what we don't allow them to do, right? They can't have children we don't allow them to have. So that being the case, I'm all about self-accountability, not blame. What can we do to fix our shit? Sorry, I don't know if I'm supposed to cuss. What can we do to fix our circumstances? What can we do in order to create a better environment for us and make choices with the information that we have? We have to get out of the Cinderella story, get out of the fairy tale, get out of the lies of patriarchy that some man's gonna, sweep us up and take care of us and provide and protect and all that bull crap, and live in the reality of what is really happening and govern ourselves accordingly and treat them like they are, not like we want them to be. And when we do that, we will have greater success. We treat men like the potential in the fairy tale that we see in our minds and not who they have proven themselves to be over and over again.
Like a sweet daddy.
Like a sweet daddy, baby. We all out here getting pimped by a sweet daddy. And that sweet daddy is called patriarchy.
Right. So bring it full circle.
Baby. Patriarchy is
bring it back to sweet daddy. Cult-like behavior, okay? And that's what it really boils down to, is that we as women tend to join cults. Because when I see all these different cults, who is at the forefront? Who is the main one? Holler? Women.
Yes. It's that male worship.
Bring our children into it. We bring our kids and we raise our children in this because some guy says their name is Sweet Daddy.
Child.
Who you think wrote Daddy is the best thing that ever happened to me? You think it was a woman or a man?
Yes, the best.
Who you think replaced Jesus with Daddy, honey? You think he was messing with that woman that was like, and she was like, Daddy? She was probably playing the dang on piano and was like, Daddy.
Yeah, and she went from the bottom of her soul.
She sang a whole song. They don't even know there's a whole story behind that whole song.
Yeah, I cannot.
I'm messing around.
But thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. There's so much more to talk about. And I really hope women are finding themselves and finding their voice and feeling the energy that is happening right now. So, yeah.
Well, VoodooBae, I want to thank you for alchemizing energy with us. I appreciate you. We got to have you back because we want to talk some more about this patriarchy thing that we got to get a hold of, okay?
Anytime.
That'll probably be our next subject. And we'll probably come here with some more guests that we can all just have a whole girls night out. We just talk about this.
Sounds good.
Especially with all that's going on YouTube, people making 45 videos about some man that was crazy as heck. So we'll talk about that a little later. Thank you so much, VoodooBae. Give us all your social media. Where can we find you?
So, The Real VoodooBae. No underscores, no numbers, no letters, no extra nothing. Just The Real VoodooBae on all platforms. I'm on YouTube. I'm on TikTok. That's my main platform. And Instagram. So you can follow me on all of those places. And if you're into cosmetics, of course, this is one of my lippies, Coven, VoodooBae.shop. spiritual products. You can find me on Etsy at VoodooBae Apothecary. You know, link in my bio. You can find all the things there.
Okay, and so also, could you paste in the well, you know what? Was it VoodooBae Cosmetics?
VoodooBae.shop is the cosmetics.
Okay, we're gonna put it all below on the YouTube. Also, this lipstick, this beautiful lipstick you're wearing, it's red.
Thank you.
Is that also a part of your cosmetic line?
It is. It's called Coven.
Yes, yes. All right, you guys. Thank you guys for watching us. Thank you, VoodooBae, for attending. This was great.
Absolutely. I will be, you know, back hopefully if you have me back.
For sure, I definitely will.
All right.
That you might have missed. So on this next video, we're going to go into the Nuwapian nation with Oyabi Gold. Let's go into that.
Hi, this is Oyabi Gold with Alchemizing Energy, and I'm bringing darkness to light with my experience in the Nuwapian nation.
All right. Welcome to Cult-Like Behavior, brought to you by Alchemizing Energy. Thank you for joining. Our guest today is Oyabi Gold. She is a former member of the Nuwapian nation, and she is here to tell us her story. So without further ado, I would like to introduce everyone to Miss Black Gem herself, Oyabi Gold. Hello. Welcome to Alchemizing Energy.
Hi. Thank you. I'm glad to be here. That intro was fire. That was dope. Thank you.
Yeah, that was a good intro.
It was. I was like, oh my God. And then I had the sound up. It kept saying tap for sound, but I was just like, so, and I like finally tapped it. That was dope. DJ Janice, Alchemizing Energy. That was dope. Thank you. Gratitude.
Thank you. We're gonna start off the interview mainly like discussing things. Mainly talking about like your experience in the group, in the cult. But I mean, mainly talking about your individual life, like growing up. What was your life like? Were you always in the cult, or did you start off like in a regular family with a regular like father, and then your mom eventually went into the cult? Like exactly, what was early life like for you?
So, I'm born in Trinidad and Tobago. So I'm actually not from the United States. My whole family's from Trinidad, great grandmother from Bangladesh, India, if I'm not mistaken. I think it's Bangladesh. Family from Grenada. So my family's basically either Arawak or Carib Indians or other indigenous types of people from the South American region of the world. because Trinidad is like off the coast of Venezuela. It's like 30 minutes from Brazil.
Yeah.
So I'm
It's
like one
the
of those
West
type of people,
Indies,
one of
right?
those type of, yes, I don't know why they call it the West Indies. I mean, I think it has something to do with the West Indian Ocean or something like that. Geography is not my strong point with the United States of America and how it's just not. And that's also an effect of being in a cult because you're not in school. So there's certain little holes in my education that will come up in certain conversations in geography. As much as I love geography, it's still one of those things where I'm like, what state? What is that? Where? Okay, like,
So
it's still sometimes. So yeah, I was born in Trinidad. By 11 months, I was in the United States of America with my mom, and she discovered she was pregnant with my Irish twin, my little brother Daniel. We're living in New York City at the time, Brooklyn, and then my mother takes us back to Trinidad to visit our father. So we stay in Trinidad from I'm like 4.5, 5 years old, about 5 years old, and we come back to the United States at 7. I'm 7 years old when I come back. We fly back in, and by 8 or 9, we're hearing the propaganda, and I thought it was a woman. I remember hearing my mother was listening to the cassettes. It was cassettes at the time, and it would be the lessons, the teachings, the cult propaganda. We didn't have the internet back then, so if you wanted to get information out, cassette tapes, and they were mass produced. So they had like the logo, Unsubtle Law Community, and we started hearing the rhetoric in the house. And then, so I went to elementary school here in the States from 3rd grade, graduated out of 6th grade. And so that was like, I guess you could say normal. That was a normal period of time for me. I had huge Christmases. We celebrated 4th of July. We went to Six Flags, played with my cousins, went to the mall, saw Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, watched the news, became afraid. They're kidnapping kids in white vans. Just a typical American Brooklyn. Well, we lived in Queens, actually. I went to elementary school in Rosedale, Queens. So we lived in Rosedale, Queens.
Okay. I remember the white vans.
Yeah, the white vans was a real thing.
Yeah. Hey, it's still
That's
a real
thing. It's still exactly. So basically,
a white van.
I don't know. I guess because it doesn't make you feel. You don't think anything sinister. You think service, utility. White is a color we associate with things that are like positive and good. If it was a black van, I think we'd be more like, what the hell is that? But a white van, you just assume it's a service vehicle. You just assume something good is happening as it's pulling up, creeping up by you. You're not alarmed at all because it's white.
Right. So
if
you grew up in New York during that era anyway with the
crack with the little that's what, like, literally, we're in the era of smoking a bong with your weed and your trees. That was very hard for me because all I see is everybody. It's crack. To me, it's just crack. It's just like I don't care what you put in that vessel, it's crack. But the world has changed. So yeah, I come out of New York City right around that time where crack is not yet whack, because I was born in 1980 and we were back here by 88.
Okay. So what was it that kind of so you just had a regular lifestyle, just a regular life growing up?
Regular Trinidadian people is like, I tell people, to get a grasp of what it's like to be in a Trinidadian family is like an Italian family. Either you're for the family or you're against the family. It's really no in between. Opinions matter. Everybody has something to say, but it's still very loving. The culture is centered around music, dance, food, celebrating each other. So we're always partying. Monica knows how I am. Like, there's music playing. Like, you cannot play music around me, and I don't. Yeah, I'm always dancing. I'm always singing out loud for no reason. Yeah. So yeah, that kind of upbringing where you're just happy for no reason. Island people, we just happy and taking our time, and it's okay.
So I'm gonna let AT2 kind of get into his questions about the early life into the cult, going into that.
Sure.
Yes. So was there any kind of like talk about religion at all in the home, or like what religion did you guys grow up believing in?
So I was baptized Seventh-day Adventist, which is what my father is and his mother is in Trinidad. So I was baptized as a baby. My grandmother was deep in Pentecostal church by the time I get to New York. So I went to church with her a few times. But my mom is a young mom, and the man she's with now is like my stepfather. And it's funny. I'll go ahead a little. My mother told me she chose to go into the community because it was an all-Black organization that seemed very empowered, and she wanted to give her now ex-husband some guidance. But here's the thing: he had a substance abuse problem with crack cocaine, and he was a serial cheater. And you're taking him into an organization where the men are selling books and products, oils and incense, getting cash money on hand, as well as he is allowed to take as many wives as he feel like he want to have without your permission as a woman. So of course they got divorced while they were in the So yeah, my family was not, I guess you could say, very religious. There was just an understanding of like, don't do bad, be a good person, don't lie, that kind of thing. Like I remember
Right.
being instilled that if you lie, you'll cheat. If you cheat, you'll steal. If you steal, you'll kill. Like I remember that being put into me very young, like don't do those things. So there was some morals and stuff, but to be honest, I was the spiritual person in my family, as far as like I was the young person who was reading the books, listening to the propaganda, really getting sucked in. My mother later revealed to me she never even actually read none of the books really. She didn't really, but I was
Wow.
taking it all in because she went in for. Remember, she's like in her 20s and she's going in for a man essentially.
Right. But it was her idea to join, right?
Yes.
So did she like hear about it from someone, or someone convinced her like, oh, he'll stop cheating on you if you?
I think she thought if he, like how women like if he have God, and since he come from the South, so he knows Christian church, but that's not doing the trick. Maybe this Muslim stuff will whip him into shape. And we didn't even say Muslim, so it kind of got weird there.
So was he a Sunni Muslim, or was he like Nation of Islam Muslim?
I'm gonna say it was closer to Nation of Islam, and we called ourselves the Ansarullah community.
Oh, so
right. And I'm happy that you mentioned regarding how the religion switched, because it originally started out following more traditional Muslim, and then it introduced like Judaism. Yeah.
Yes, Hebrew stuff got mixed in there, and then we're wearing cowboy hats because now we're indigenous Indians of the I don't know. And then right before he got locked up, we were becoming Egyptian Christians. We literally had gospel albums out and things like that.
But before we even get too deep into that, you mean so
look at AT's face, like what the fuck?
What?
So this thing started off as so you think that you're joining a Muslim group?
Yes. I was wearing face veil because I was menstruating pretty young. So yes, you're a Muslim. You eat with your right hand, you wipe your booty with your left, you pray 10,000 times a day. Yes,
you thought
we're
that
Muslims.
You were joining like an offshoot of like the Nation of Islam, basically. It wasn't.
Yep. They had a more slant. So like it wasn't as it was a little more militant.
Right.
Meaning we lived in Bushwick, Brooklyn. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, because I know you were young. So when the religion switched, like no one kind of questioned like, okay, well, now you're introducing new things, or?
That's how you know you're in a cult. That's when the whole cult shit enters the chat. Because the people who were over it, they did leave. There were people who left, but we don't know who those people are. That kind of thing, like they leave. So they're excommunicated. We don't talk to them. We don't talk about them. They're wrong. They're on the outside. So I do remember a few families that left, but I literally don't remember what these people look like, because they just, we just go to the world. You're weak,
So you're at this bookstore, and is Dr. York at the bookstore teaching Islam, or is he somewhere else, and he's already big by this point, or did he already have like a organization already set up, and you just was visiting one of his bookstores that he had of many, or was this his beginning?
Well, the Brooklyn was the flagship shop. It was, I want to say, the first. Maybe not the first location in Brooklyn, but the first one that I guess you could say the Brooklyn Tabernacle where we moved to was like the epicenter, because that's where he first started off. And then he had Jezabba, which was the land that was in upstate New York, which was his actual compound. So he would be back and forth between Brooklyn and upstate New York. I actually visited upstate New York when I first got in the Tabernacle, and he gave me my Muslim name. So I've met him. I've lived on the compound with him.
And so when you were living on the compound, because as I understand, like the girls, the boys, the children were all separated from each other, right? Or no?
Oh yeah. When we first moved into the community, it's just like you moving into college. My mom had to fill out applications, give personal information about us, because I guess they got to know who's coming in. And at the time, it's my mom and my 3 little brothers. I am 11, and Daniel will be 10. Jelani is, I think, 3 or 2, and Kaleem is 1. And so the babies can kind of be with their mom, but there is a room they go to with other babies their age for the day if the mother has a job elsewhere. Since my mother didn't, she was with the other children that were babies and her own baby boys. My brother Daniel went to what we call the boys' bait. Bait is the Arabic word for house, so it's called the boys' bait. And he didn't stay there long, because it was basically a dilapidated building with a bunch of savage ass little boys in there, and the ages was like from like 10 to like 18. So it was a lot of weird behavior, abusive behavior, fucked up shit going on. So my brother did not stay there long. He cried. That was a thing because he was a boy child, and Muslim culture is very macho. You know, like you're a man, you should be able to rule the family, you got to take charge. And he's like a 10-year-old frail Gemini boy at the time. He's like, this is not life. He was not with it. So I was with it because by then I had already been processing that I don't like my mama. She's not nice. She's not a good mama. So with the idea of not being around her for me was kind of like, okay, that works for me.
Yeah,
I'm
you
done
liked
with your shit.
it. Like I
already knew I was a lesbian. I already knew I liked girls. So the idea that I'd also be living with girls my age, I was like, I'm out of here. Even though nothing like that happened because it's a cult. It's very controlled. So it wasn't even what I thought. Right. I was thinking like Sweet Valley High, you know, the Babysitters Club, bunch of girls speaking Arabic, hanging out. I don't know what my little mind was on, but it wasn't what it was. Yeah. And so yeah, and the children are separated by age group. So I was with a group of girls that was my age group, and there would have been a group of girls under me that had another woman taking care of them, and so forth and so forth.
Is it okay if we dive into sexuality for a minute?
I love talking about sexuality.
Okay, because okay, because with the cult-like behavior, I know that's something that would not be accepted. So you said, you know, at an early age that you knew that you like girls. However, what did the religion? Did you guys talk about homosexuality or?
Oh no, that's not even a conversation because, you know, man goes with woman, especially when you're talking Islam or was like we had Dr. York wrote a book called The Sex Life of a Muslim. So where he details what kind of sex you should be having with your wife, your mate, your partner. But that has nothing to do with what was. See, what happens is I probably could have been having relations with children and probably adults based on what was actually happening in the background. But not to say that I wanted that, but to say that I'm glad that didn't happen because that was actually happening. I just was not invited to that party. And like I was telling Monica, before I even knew that was happening as a young kid in there, remember, I come from the regular world where we was allowed to go outside, play, do what we want. Right around the time we moved into the Muslim community in Brooklyn, I was just learning how to maneuver New York as a young person, meaning I had ridden the bus a few times by myself to go to grandma's house. Like that's standard. You start learning that shit kind of early. So I was just discovering my independence and that I could travel in New York City alone.
Wow, before you got joined. Yeah.
Yeah. And so now we're in this community, which is very regimented. You're not allowed to see your family. The world is considered what we call the dunya, which is the Arabic word for the world. And we aren't like, it's like, think holiness church. The world is the devil. You're not doing that. So you're not allowed outside unless you're being watched with other girls your age. And it was just very controlled. And so there were other young ladies or other families that would be like going to upstate New York or going to Disney World or going places. And I would want to go. So I would start writing these letters to Dr. York and company, I guess you could say, but really just to Dr. York. But we knew him as Rabboni, which is the, I think the Jewish or Hebrew word for like pastor or reverend or something like that. Teacher, spiritual teacher, something like that. And I would be writing letters like, I want to come see you. I want to be, you know, just manipulative little kid shit. I want to get out.
Right.
I pray every day. I'm good. I eat the beans and the rice and I love it because Allah made it. I want to go to Disney World. Me next. So yeah, I mean, but you don't know that things are happening behind the scene that you wouldn't want to be a part of. And then as I got older, my mom, when I actually did have the chance to live on the compound, I was 15 or 16. That's still a little high. I have to look.
Let's not even jump far too soon. I still want to stay in New York.
She's like, slow down. Let's stay in New York for a little while.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Because New York, because I'm trying to figure out. So he had a compound because there's a whole lot of crap that goes on up in the upstate New York situation. He has this. I'm trying to figure out how is he able to control people in New York that strong. Like you say, he had a boy house and a girl house. Were these all in like one part of like Brooklyn, New York, and then he was out in upstate New York?
That was the militant effect. We literally had like maybe 6. I could be wrong because I was young. I'll say maybe 6-block radius that we controlled, and the brothers would literally be patrolling at night with guns and stuff. It was like gang territory. Nobody fucked with the Muslims.
In New York?
In New York, you can look it up. Look up New York's time, anything to do with the Muslim community in Bushwick. Keywords would be Muslim community or the Ansars in Bushwick, because we were in Bushwick, Brooklyn.
So he
right, which is
basically
close to
almost was
Bed-Stuy.
like New Jack City in a Muslim way.
Yes, but yes, and he did that in almost every. He had one of those in Boston. He had one in Philly. He had a community in Jamaica, a community in Trinidad. I heard there was one in China. I don't know if that's true or not, but there was definitely one in Trinidad, one in Jamaica, Boston, Philadelphia, California. Like he had a community in almost every major city.
Yeah,
and
that's
they were
why
all run the same way.
I don't want to jump right to Atlanta because I want to show a progression before he got to Atlanta. Because I'm like, how could you somehow?
Oh, he had the Atlanta one before he got to Atlanta. Like that already existed.
So I'm
because
like,
we were everywhere.
Must have been generating so much money off of this.
Yes.
To own a land like this.
Yes.
Put pyramids.
Yes.
On it, but you guys still were living like squalor. So he was like a slumlord. So he
like homeless people. Yeah.
Had you guys live in like these different places.
Exposed plumbing. Yeah, the exposed plumbing. Remember I told you you go in the kitchen late at night and there's rats on the stove and stuff. And as kids, you make it fun. It's like a sad movie that you watch that you're like, look at these children playing with these pet rats because that's all they have. Like but that's the truth of it. We didn't feel sad because we had each other. We thought was culture. We had a unifying thing. We literally watched Arabic programs, so we spoke Arabic. So we were in the middle of Bushwick going to the library, and it's these bunch of these little black kids wearing Muslim garb speaking Arabic and ignoring the rest of the world. Wow. It was just a vibe.
And
it was something. So I can understand why my mom wanted to go in because of this like black. It was like Farrakhan meets Malcolm X for real. It was like this militant kind of like attitude about being Muslims, not just we're Muslims and we bow down to Allah. It's like we're Muslims and we black. Like it was like that. So it felt like you were a part of something. Like it was fun as a kid. I'm not gonna say it was different for me because I didn't grow up with no rats. I was middle class, doing we had cars, did laundry, had our own bedroom, school. So I don't come from poverty. My family's not poor. We came from like a middle class upbringing, and then we went into squalor, as you say, absolutely. And for me, it was an adventure. I was slumming for a little while, as you say.
Right. What's so interesting?
Some people were born into that, though.
Right. What's so interesting is that you guys don't have the typical story like poor family or a single mother, or you don't fit kind of like the prototype. Like you had your stepfather and your mother were together, and you guys were out doing things, living life, and so it's just so strange how you guys don't fit the prototype.
He had a supportive family. I had my mom. Like was a big family, but that's what the trauma was for me because you're taking. Remember now, my mom has me in Trinidad at 11 months. 11 months. By 11 months old, I'm on the plane with her in the United States. Then I'm getting to know my family, her family. So my grandmother by now, my mother was, so we have a generational history of domestic violence. My grandmother had to leave her children in Trinidad, and that'll be my uncle, my mom, two of her sisters, and her baby brother. So stairs, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 kind of thing. And she had to leave her children in Trinidad and basically escape to the United States because I guess that would be my step grandfather at the time was abusing her sexually, and I know you guys are gonna post something, you're gonna bleep anything out, but basically he was abusing her every way you could abuse a woman, but like you would a woman from the street. Meaning it wasn't like, oh, I get drunk. It was just really hardcore abuse. So she left, and she did not see my mother. My mother was 5 years old. She did not see my grandmother again, I think, until she was like when she had me, and she went to the United States at like 17.
Wow. So,
and then my aunts and uncles follow her. So there's a slight amount of like that separation, so my mom went through a lot of things in Trinidad that she still to this day does not process as trauma or as abuse. Mm-hmm. So when she handles me with these ways, she doesn't see anything wrong with it. So me and her have been no contact for almost 3-4 years now. I love her from afar, but I had to make that decision
like that.
Yeah. So that's how. So we ended up in a cult because of my mom's unprocessed trauma. Essentially.
Makes sense.
So was he already in the cult when he met your mother, or is it something that he progressed into like after because after you guys they were together for some time, he runs across these people?
No.
And where is your father? Is he still in Trinidad?
Nope, not at all. She exposed him to it. Player. He absolutely refused. Like most people who, like my father, worked for the president of Trinidad, of Trinidad. So he was the Scouts master for Trinidad, which means when I was there, we lived on presidential grounds. It was a beautiful mansion. Even though we had like a servant's quarter within that mansion, it was beautiful.
Wow.
It was, and so he had a job, and he had his mom had all this land, and so Trinidad is like that. It's like, why would I leave my acres of fruits and vegetables and fresh air, and I go to the beach anytime I want, and I have this cool job where I work basically. I think my dad, like, he was there. We lived there all year long, but the work only came for like a couple of weeks out the year. So he had this cool ass slacker ass job. I can imagine, you know. And you want me to come to the United States where there's winter and work and pay taxes and. But see, it wasn't about that for my mom. My mom wanted to get to her mother. That was her. I have not been with my mom, and she starts her adult life pretty young in her teens. Some of the stuff I can tell you off camera, we can talk off camera about what my mother shared with me about her life. Like, it's pretty bone chilling, but still not processed as abuse nor trauma. Just matter of fact, how life goes.
Right.
So when you so you come to America, you're living a regular middle class life.
Then we go back to Trinidad.
Go back to Trinidad,
and then still living a regular middle class Trinidadian life is great. My dad gets married, all kind of wonderful things, and then we go back to the United States at 7. By 7, I'm living in Rosedale, Queens.
And is that when you guys fully joined the cult?
No, we were just regular kids. I remember it happened like this. All of a sudden, one night my mom went to the movies with my dad, and I was like, oh, because she came out the room with like a full face veil with only her eyes. And I would never forget, it was,
oh wow,
I was like, the fuck is that shit? What the, you know, like, what is that? And so she comes out the room, and they're wearing the traditional garb. But again, this is how you can tell when regular people get into spiritual shit. They shit is fly. It's like green. Like, I had never, everybody wear white or like that tan colored. My parents got on this royal type tree green material with the, like, so it's like, when I think about it now, it was clearly not about the freaking religion. It was some manipulation of a young woman trying to get her husband in line.
So
right.
But he's a stylish guy, so he's not gonna be doing this not unstylishly.
Right.
He's so he's a Gemini man, so he has like these wonderful outfits with the shoes match the jacket. So I remember him telling my mom, we gotta make sure my outfits match all my shoes. I'm not giving up my shoes. That was what his mind was on. I remember that. So we're listening to the tapes in the house, Dr. York's voice, you know, the rhetoric, which I thought was a woman until we actually went to the masjid and I saw him. But where things take a turn is that Christmas. We moved into the Brooklyn community in, I want to say either June or July, but Christmas, and I'll never forget it because it's the Christmas where I guess I'm growing up. So I don't want all the toys in the world anymore. I just want one thing, a 10-speed bike. I'm officially that's a New York thing. You know how far you can get in New York City on a bike? So I was already like, I need a bike. Right. And I wanted a 10-speed. I knew the specs on it, and I had set it, and I wanted it was one thing. It shouldn't have been a freaking problem. And I got this ugly ass, black ass Cabbage Patch doll with a gap. And not that I don't like black ass dolls. The light going off helped. I like dolls. I had a bunch of Cabbage Patch dolls that I loved. But this one was just ugly. It wasn't because she was black. It wasn't because she had the gap. She just happened to be black with a gap and ugly. And I just didn't understand why I was getting this ugly ass, black ass doll. And then my mom was like, well, today is this day of Kwanzaa. So we're actually not celebrating Christmas anymore. This is we're not going to have Christmas. We're doing Kwanzaa this year because we're going to be Muslims. And there's this whole speech. But all I'm looking at is this ugly fucking doll. Like, I don't want this. This is not Christmas. This is not Kwanzaa. And I'm smart enough to know we're not even doing Kwanzaa right. How are you giving me a doll? This is like the 4th day. What's the other days? What happened to the other days? What are we doing? I'm in school. I read books. Where are the other days? It was just not it. And then there's no family around because the other family's doing Christmas with ham and delicious stuff. And we're over here having this stupid ass Kwanzaa. I was so mad. I was so livid. I think I was so mad I couldn't even cry. Again, more trauma at 10. This is 10 years old, 10, 11 years old. Right. My birthday, actually, it would have been 10, turn 11 because my birthday is December 30th. So my birthday comes after Christmas, and I didn't even get a birthday present because we no longer going to be on birthdays like that when we become Muslims because it's like Jehovah's Witness type shit. So the last present I get to celebrate life around the time of my birthday is this ugly ass Cabbage Patch doll, and I am heartbroken. Right. And I think my brother got like a G.I. Joe or like a stuffed animal. He got something whack too.
That is crazy.
So, yeah. And then by June, we're actually moving into the compound. The Brooklyn, we call the Brooklyn community.
Okay. And then, so when did you guys transition from the one in Brooklyn into the one in the upstate New York?
So before we get to upstate New York, we went to Spring Valley. Spring Valley, I think, is like another part of like New York. I'm not sure what part of New York, where, or Philly. I just know there's Spring Valley. I think it's called Spring Valley, New York.
Spring Valley? Okay.
And that was, yeah, and it's just a beautiful, it was like, it was so beautiful. We lived, it was a very nice neighborhood that we lived in. And it's like we were able to rent like a whole duplex community. We had we had like 4 buildings to ourselves that were, that would have been like basically 2 homes for 2 separate families, like the upstairs unit and the downstairs unit. But we took over one whole unit to be the house for all the girls, and then the other unit was for all the babies, and that was for the men. And so everything was still separate, but it was Spring Valley, it was just a beautiful place to live. And then that's where my mother started having more responsibility. So that in every community, there's a family or a group of families that run that community, meaning they report to Dr. York, they make sure groceries, they pay the bills, blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. And my mother somehow became second in command or third in command with the woman who was running Spring Valley.
Okay, so she was ranked. Okay.
My mother started ranking as someone who, with all that unprocessed trauma, would in a cult-like setting. And by then, we're no longer wearing the face veils. I think we got out of face veils. Maybe we moved in that summer. By the next summer, we were wearing what we call the Nubias, which were like more the Hebrew Israelite garb, and it looked more like kind of like, you know what I'm about to do, this kind of look. Instead of the face veil, now we were wearing this.
Yeah.
But a sari looks like the Indian outfit that we know as a sari, with a pants that's the shirt that's long sleeve.
We can't hear you because you covered up your microphone. Yeah.
Thanks, DJ. But you know what I'm saying? Like, so the outfit has like a quarter sleeve or long sleeve, but it fits like a dress with slits on the side, and you wear pants with it. And it's usually like embroidered, or even if it was plain, we wore really bold colors. Because now that we're out of the face veil, you know, a lot of people weren't born into that as adults. So now the women who are seamstress are like sewing their clothes, so the colors are vibrant. We look good. We're going, and some of us, like my mom we're from Trinidad, so she's went to the Indian district and got actual saris. So I was looking bust down with the drip on, you know, like
so
it felt normal.
What was the explanation to not put the full face garb, and now you're switching over to this Hebrew Israelite doctrine? Like, how would he convert from being a Muslim? Now he's doing Hebrew Israelite.
He basically predicted I'll say he predicted 9/11 10 years before it happened. He said they're gonna make Muslims the enemy. Muslims, everybody who's a Muslim gonna be the enemy. So we gotta transition out of this so we don't be the enemy. So this is for our own protection and for our own good.
So every time he would do a prediction or something that would go along with it, or some kind of a
it would make sense. Yes. Meaning, and then he started saying, well, I'm taking you guys through basically like living ancestor worship. I'm taking you through who you are. And then also there's this thing with, to me, it probably was about money, sovereignty, meaning if I could have a sovereign nation, we could be like the Indians. Everybody get a check. Everybody, you know, we just,
right.
I really think it was just about money.
Oh yeah, because I think, is it the Hebrew Israelites that know about all the sovereignty, or is it the Moors?
Mm-hmm.
One of them knows how
both.
To do
both, because he was mixing the Moorish and the Hebrew stuff together in this weird way. And then we segued. We didn't stay there long. Then we segued right into being cowboy. So it's like Indian culture, but we wore cowboy Western wear. It was wild times indeed.
And what was
like we were actually wearing cowboy hats. That was part of being the Choctaw, whatever nation, Indian reservoir, whatever sovereignty stuff. Indians, which really doesn't relate to me and my family. We're from Trinidad, so like,
right?
You know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't even apply to everyone because there's Puerto Ricans in the organization. There's some white people by now. There's black people. I was just going to ask you, was it diverse? Yes, it was. At one point, it wasn't, but then right around the time we was coming into it's funny. Right as we were going into the Indian thing with the cowboy Western wear, he started putting out propaganda like no one wins the race in racism, and white people and other people were now allowed to join us. Whereas before it was like, you're a white devil, you know, or you're a Tamahu, or all these other names we had, you're Fulroy, all these names we had for white people.
The community, you know?
Right. But then I guess he tapped into like, if you have some Indian in you, we could be sovereign. What Indians we got in us? And
So was he trying to do that when you guys were Hebrew Israelites, or did he start to do that more closer to when you guys went to the land in upstate New York?
Do what, the Indian stuff?
Like the sovereignty, like trying to utilize the sovereignty.
I want to say that's when the sovereignty thing came into conversation as he was going down to Georgia. Yes, that was when we started having the conversation that I remember, where it trickled down to, I guess you could say, the members.
So it sounds like this was like a strategic move towards sovereignty. So every step he made was building up toward this land in Georgia to be able to become sovereign and have it.
And then Georgia also enters the whole Masonic thing. We start being a lodge where we were an actual recognized lodge. We did the parades. My aunt and uncle are Eastern Stars and Masonic. They have their own Masonic lodges, not associated with Dr. York thing. But my parents did stuff with their lodge. Dr. York had a recognized Masonic lodge. And from what I hear, he is still heavily regarded and respected and honored in that community and in that space.
Wow, as a Mason.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Mason, Shriner. Mm-hmm.
So like, let's discuss like Nepal. Do you have any questions? Nepal's here. Welcome, Nepal. Hello, Nepal.
Hey, Nepal.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes,
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes. Hello, how are you? Pleased to meet you.
Pleased to meet you as well.
Yes. I have been listening. I'm sorry I came in a little bit later, but it's all interesting how you're breaking this all down, how you're telling the story. I was interested, and peace to the brother on the panel, by the way. But yes, I was interested when you just talked about how you were dressing, how you had the women dress. I don't think people have really talked so much. I've interviewed a few Nuwapians. Could you talk more about how they, from the surface, made it like the women were so supposed to be pure and demure and, very chaste? Yeah, but underneath, he had a different idea, a very sinister, lascivious idea about. Can you talk to that about how he would put out that image about women?
For me, I was 11 years old coming in, and so when you say that, I think about how I was already, menstruating. So of course I had to wear the face veil, but I was only 11 years old, and my mom told me that she was already getting propositions for my marriage. That kind of culture, that kind of underbelly of culture, if you will. So it wasn't even about like what you're wearing underneath. It's just like, you know what I'm saying? This culture of women being seen very much as commodity or as helpmeet in the most basic of ways. You're not.
Wait, okay. Let me get.
So
can I call you? What do I call you? Oya Gold, or what did you want to be addressed as?
You can just call me Oya. My name Oya.
You're a very beautiful sister. I love your energy. I love what.
Thank you.
You know what? This is what I want to hear. Everybody here listening, we always hear about York, like he's the only one. But when we listen to what Oya,
and most of those people never even met him. Most of those people who are coming in call themselves Nuwapians, they never met him.
Okay,
they don't know him.
Said your mom was getting propositions of marriage for an 11-year-old, so that would tell me that other men also were. Talk to us. Were there other men were on that channel of, we can marry 11-year-olds?
Yes, it was a safe space. If you were into that, it was very safe space.
Wow.
But they were doing it under the guise of Islam, because in Islam,
yes,
according to Muhammad,
once she's menstruating, she's a wife.
And that's also Hebrew Israelite. Even though what we have is we have new. It's just like with every religion, even with Islam, we have people who are decent.
It's the Abrahamic religions.
Yes, people who are decent, but they come into Abrahamic religions thinking, I want to be a Muslim, but I'm not marrying an 11-year-old. But that's part of Islam, and that's also part of. It's also part of Judaism. It's also part of Hebrew Israelitism. It's past the flower of the age. So what I want to go back to is if you could just talk more, we are talking about York, but can you talk to us about the men in general in the cult?
So the men in the cult would have been something that it would have been mysterious to us because we didn't see them. We knew there was men and they went to propagate is what we called it. And that means they sold books. They sold incense, they sold oils, and some of the top sellers would sell gold and silver jewelry. And they would travel and be on the trains. And it was a real beautiful thing to see because again, culturally, like you're up in the morning, you're doing your prayer, you look out the window and you see all these black men with their black little hats on, their white garb, their black jackets, their tables, and it's like a little march, and they going to do what men do for a community. So there's this seduction to it if you're a black person that like you never seen nothing like that before. You're like, wow, look at us. And then all night long, you're aware you're safe because these same men patrol the area and make sure we're safe with the guns and stuff. And it just makes, but then you, as I got older, like a year into the situation, I'll never forget, someone left the door open to the brothers' bait. Again, bait is the Arabic word for house. So I remember kind of like going in, and I stepped one foot in there, and the way it smelled, like, and from what I never went past it because that odor hit me so hard.
Oh, what does
but from what I understand, the men's house was
what did it smell like?
It smelled like, you ever go like in a public bathroom and you can see the poop and the pee, and like, why they don't clean this bathroom? Like those type of outside bathrooms at gas stations in the middle of nowhere, and you're like, I gotta pee, and then you go in there and you're like, oh my God, what happened in here? Like, and the smell usually hits you as soon as you open the door. Like you're like, oh, like, oh my God, like, oh, like your eyebrows, you're like, are they there? Right. And I was a little girl, and I remember this
for cleaning. I'm sorry.
That would have been, I guess, on them. But remember, we were living in, like, our house was okay. We did have a lot of exposed plumbing. Like we had bathrooms. So I remember taking a bath, and you're looking up because everything is exposed and it's old, and you're like, I just don't want nothing to drop on me. It was. Right. I'm smiling because as a child, it's an adventure. That's how children deal with trauma and that type of bullshit. As a child, you're just like, I hope no big ass spider is gonna jump down or a rat's gonna jump over me while I'm taking this bath in a bucket. Because we don't even have running water sometimes. So you have to boil water. Someone has to pour it in a bucket. It's a whole thing to just take a bath.
Wow.
And how long did you live like that?
Oh, we lived like this until 94 when we came to Augusta, Georgia. So from 1991 to 94, about 3 years.
So you lived there till you were 14.
I guess, because even when we moved to Augusta, Georgia, we're living in a regular house at this time. We're jumping ahead, but we moved in what a regular house looks like. I think a 3 or 4 bedroom house, but with another family of 5, and we were a family of 9 kids plus 2 adults. So the parents. So when we had that great migration from New York to the South, we kept the same living standards, which means families grouped up together to pay the rent, and your family lived in one room, my family lived in this room, that kind of thing. And in this particular case, the adults decided they had their own room with their baby. So my mom and my stepdad with the baby had their room, and that woman and her husband and their baby had a room, and then all the boys were in one room, and then all the girls were in another room. So we still kept that same structure when we moved to the South.
Mm.
Oh my God.
And that's right around the time of the cowboy Western wear, and we're wearing regular clothes, but we're told not to talk to anyone in school. Don't give your number out. Don't talk to these people. How are we supposed to learn? And you can't talk to anyone.
Did CPS ever try to get involved with you guys while you were in Georgia?
Well, not in my household, but we heard about people getting caught up, especially like in Atlanta. For some reason, Atlanta just be wild. It's been one of those communities that it just had a little edge on it that I used to hear little stories. I don't know how true they are, but yeah, CPS has been called on even other communities. So it could happen. It has happened, and it could happen, but it didn't happen in my specific family unit.
Okay. You know what? I don't know.
My parents, were, yeah.
No, your parents were what? Go ahead, finish.
My parents were like my stepfather told the line, meaning before he was, so the man that my mother came in with, she got a divorce from because he was putting these babies on her. So, and then he was not a top earner.
Let's stay right there, though.
Due to crack.
I know you're getting ready to go. You have so much information. Genesis, thank you so much for letting me speak to this sister.
Yeah.
Listen, I have interviewed
Napa, do you know who David is? Do you know who David is who talks about the polite?
No, I'm going to talk to you about him because Sonetter did interview him also. In fact, Sonetter is the one who introduced Polite to David, who is your stepbrother, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I definitely would like to, and I told Genesis I would like to speak to you some more, but I don't want to take over the interview, Genesis, if I'm bogarting.
No. Listen,
this is the best York interview.
This is not the first time I've talked about it, so I'm talking about it.
And Darkness and Light, it's not about me and mine. It's about getting the information out there so that this doesn't ever happen again, because this cult is still going on.
Oh yeah, definitely. So,
yep.
Listen, I want to ask you. Oh yeah, I want to take steps when I hear there's little things that happen when you speak about the women, especially in general. See, because I've focused so much on York, which we still do want to focus on him, but I want to go back to, because the cult is still going, I want to talk like what you're doing is giving us some insight into how the general population function. Like, I'm still thinking about what you said about the men's living quarters. But let me ask you, when you talk about your mom getting a divorce, how does that work in that particular cult? Was it a common law marriage that she left out of, or was it a real, not real, but it was
she was married legally before going into the cult. So she divorced him legally while in the cult.
Wow. So how did she have to go?
And then got another marriage. Well, yeah, she got a legal, so she had to go to wherever you go to, the courthouse or whatever she had to. But by then, we're kind of not living as Muslims anymore. We're living more with, I think, the Buddha Nubia garbs on, I believe, I want to say, right around that time. Going into, so kind of like there's this gray area between the Buddha Nubias, that Hebrew Israelite type wear, and then just regular clothes. But because once we start doing cowboy Western, we're wearing regular clothes.
Okay, I want to please. There's so many pins I'm putting in because the Western stuff is wild. But
it's fine.
I want to go back.
It's very wild.
Okay, I want to ask you about.
I'm laughing. I have to say this because the reason why I'm laughing, because I was there, and when I say cowboy Western, we had I wore these shirts, and you had the little. Like what you see in Texas now. I'm in Texas now.
Oh, wow.
Gallon hats, men wearing gallon hats. Everyone had a pair of cowboy boots. We had those little clips you wear with the little silver things hanging. Right. I had so many jean skirts that flared out, but you tuck the shirt in and you have your Western. Wait,
you went to school like this, like to actual elementary public school, and had to wear cowboy up?
No, we were homeschooled in the container of the cult. But yes, by the time I got to Georgia, 9th grade, 13 years old, I was still wearing some of those clothes. And I had to figure out how to make it stylish.
You know what's wild though out here? Some of the Muslim people, I don't know if they might have been Nuwapians. God dang, you just sparked. They used to wear Western clothes, like Little House on the Prairie, and I'll be like, why are they?
Yes.
Wow. They were Nuwapians.
Yes.
This is in Arizona though. This is in Arizona.
We were everywhere. People don't understand. We were in every major city and state. So we were in the state maybe twice.
This is
in a small part of the state and in a big part of the state. We were everywhere.
Oh my God. Okay. I have.
We were everywhere. It was like a gang. It was like a fun ass gang because we knew this. We knew when we bust in from places, we were busting and flying in. We had a community in London.
They looked just like Little House on the Prairie, but they were Muslims, a black family that lived in our neighborhood.
And then sometimes they would have no hair with that one braid, or just very natural hairstyles that didn't bring a lot of attention to the situation.
Oh wow.
Wow. So let's go back to your mom. Did she have to get permission from York to get divorced, or she could just?
Yes, she would have had to do that, but I believe that was okay because my mom was showing leadership skills and he was not.
Well, let me tell you,
he liked his drugs and his women.
Okay, well, the Hebrew Israelites, they encourage, and I'm going to say a specific group, and that's what I want to talk to you about, Genesis. IUIC. They tried to force me to get divorced. So I know that that's a similarity. They don't mind if women want to divorce their husbands because that frees them up.
Yes.
So,
wow.
Yeah.
And that leaves us as her children more exposed too, because while she's in a position where she has to go out and propagate for her family, because now she's saying, I'm that breadwinner, I'm gonna do it. So who do you think becomes a new parent in the household?
Me. Yes.
I'm the new mom. And I'm a child. I'm 11 years old, being held responsible for a 10-year-old, a 3-year-old, and a 2-year-old.
And there's no man stopping any other man to come in and just, be in there.
No. There's no one stopping anyone from doing anything to any children really at any time.
So can we go back? Let's talk about children and your stepbrother. That's how your stepbrother came in. Your mom married his dad. Okay. Can you talk to us a little bit about when that first took place? Wow. Now, what are we looking at? Is this?
So when this is how we looked during our Ansar Wallah days.
Which one is you?
And these girls look familiar to me. Like if I saw them.
Oh, these aren't you. Okay.
I'm not in this picture at all.
I thought you were one of the ones that looked like, incognito ninja.
This could even be the girls. Yeah, this could even be the girls from the group Albanat. Like Dr. York was heavily into music, so he always had a record label. He always had celebrity musicians coming by. And we had music. Music was a very big part of what we did. So we had our own girl group, which was Albanat, and they was these black girls who sung Arabic music, and this shit was popping. To this day, I'm like, can someone get me an Albanat tape? If Sinetta has an Albanat tape, like I want to hear that. It's music from my childhood. Like,
we got
see, and it was fire.
York was referenced in a lot of different hip hop songs and stuff like that. So were there any celebrities in this too, or no?
Music Soul Child is a part. I don't know if he still claims it, but I grew up with him. I know him and his family. Music Soul Child. I don't know them anymore, but at one time, this is like my people's. So Music Soul Child comes from.
Not to interrupt you, but didn't Polite get in a relationship? From what I hear, go ahead.
One of his daughters or something like that. Yeah, like Polite was like adjacent to the family.
He got into a relationship with his baby, with Music Soul Child's baby's mama.
Oh, I don't know anything about that.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's like a few. I've seen Erykah Badu on the land.
She was definitely. I can vouch, brother. I know. I heard that. I didn't heard. I read.
Her management was his son. Kedar Massenberg was his son. Who is his son? Was her management team at one time.
She supports York in a way where she privately doesn't. They keep quiet because of what he did, of course. So I'm not saying she supports what he did, but she supports the doctrine, I should say.
Correct. Yes. And to me, the doctrine is. So what's funny is when people say they support I'm like, you don't have to be a Nuwapian to support the doctrine. He did what most great cult leaders do. He took actual information that was not his from actual people who studied this stuff and were scholars in their own lane and mixed it with conjecture and rhetoric and his own philosophies about it.
Right.
Yeah, that's wild.
So you don't have to be a Nuwapian to like be into quantum physics or be into astrology or be into knowing about what the Illuminati, which just means you understand how metaphysics or what world politics are about. You don't have to, because what he did, like for instance, I was watching this channel the other day who I said, let me just get into this. I'm not going to say the channel's name, but they did an expose on Dr. York and his book about Malcolm X being this and that. And it's funny, as the person is reading Dr. York's book, they're reading the book to tell what's in the book. And it sounds like social media now. Me and Dr. York is referencing an article where, yes, Malcolm X was in this part of Sudan at this time. That's a documented fact. But then the book goes into italics because I remember how the books are written. And Dr. York is saying, yeah, I remember meeting Brother Malcolm. And he told me this. Malcolm's not even here to like say that did or did not happen. There's no witnesses. It's hitting like social media gossip. And like, you know how Nature Boy would say things that you know were clearly not true, that clearly didn't happen.
Right.
But he said it and you know it's a lie. And you don't know how you know it's a lie, but you know it's a lie. So it's like listening to that, but you're reading it, which then to me as a child, these adults were into this because it's salacious. Someone's telling me they had this wild ass conversation with Malcolm X and mixing it with the facts of an actual Malcolm X that he did have.
Right. Your mic went really low. Your audio went
down, but
there it is.
You guys, but you hear what I'm saying? Like that kind of thing. I can see why these adults were into the information because he put boring history, science, politics with salacious gossip and Illuminati and conspiracy theory stuff and then said, hey, and we're black and we're going to do this together and I'm going to show you how to get it. And all we did was get money for him.
Wow. Did you doubt it when you were a child, but you just had to go along with it? Or
no. I was so 10 toes down. I believed in it. I mean, I was always, my mother calls me her hippie dippy child. So I was always very spiritual on my own. So, and I listened to my body in a certain way, which means like we're on this starvation diet from day one, you know, so, and I come from eating food, actual, like, you know, food. And so I was hungry and I got very skinny and
explain what it was. Can you go into details about it? Cause you said starvation. Tell us, what was it like? What did you eat and what was the regimen?
So when we moved in June, July, breakfast was, everything was out of these tin cups and tin bowls, like literally like Oliver and Company. And so you have to drink 2 cups of water before you have either oatmeal, cream of wheat, oatmeal, wheatina, and this other type of barley type cereal. We rarely had cream of wheat. Cream of wheat would have been like Christmas if we had cream of wheat. It happened one time and I was like, what? Cream of wheat? So yeah, oatmeal, some type of barley cereal or wheatina with lots of peanut butter to make it be delicious or whatever. 2 cups of water before you have that, 2 cups of water after. For lunch, it was usually some type of chickpea patty, like 2 chickpea patties, or some type of like big chunk of like zucchini bread or other type of like nutritious type, whatever vegetables can be made, like pumpkin bread, sweet potato bread, like those types of breads would always be like a big, like I remember as a kid never seeing no shit like that in my life, in all my free life. They gave me this, and I was like, "What the is this?" Like, but it was so good, and I was hungry, so you eat it. And then about a week after being there, I was told I would not be allowed to eat or drink until I learned how to ask for my food in Arabic. So I had to learn how to speak. That's how I learned how to speak Arabic fairly quickly. I like food. So
learn how to speak for survival, basically.
Yes, absolutely.
So the bread was dinner?
And then after the bread was lunch. Okay, so dinner would be, it's funny, I forgot dinner because I never really ate dinner because dinner was always beans and rice. And never a vegetable, spinach, salad. I don't, like now that I eat for my blood type for years now, like I'm an O type, beans are not a part of our diet. So I've never, even when I was, even though my mother had her bullshit ways, I was lucky to have a mom that did not force us to eat things we did not want to eat. Mm-hmm. If your body don't want it, don't eat it. So I never had, and my mom didn't really, we're Trinidadian, so we have like beans and rice, pilau, things like that, but I never really liked it. I don't like rice, I don't like beans. And these are two things as an O type that I'm not naturally, organically built to even eat. So of course, I went a lot of nights without having dinner because I couldn't eat. Like there was nothing. So I had my 4 cups of water.
And rice. Oh yeah, it wasn't anything else.
No protein, no meat, no salad, no spinach, no.
I got it.
No beans on top of the beans.
You got to
like
give me a minute because for me, listening to this, and I mean, I know we eat. We're Americans and we're spoiled, but this sounds so.
It gets worse the closer you get to Dr. York too. I haven't even told you about Edenton and living on the compound with Dr. York.
Keep going. Stay on the food though, because this is very, very moving for me to know that children were treated like this. I mean, I get the adults, but children, like you saying you didn't have dinner, that's a huge deal for me.
And it wasn't like there was a substitute dinner for me. Now, as time went on and things were changing, that's when my mother discovered, okay, some of the women in here are getting food stamps. So she privately, discreetly applied for food stamps. So then when I told her one day I haven't had dinner like in a week, she just kind of looked at me and she would just be like, well, come. We have what we call tiffle time, which tiffle is the Arabic word for baby. And that happens between 7 and 8 p.m. Monday through Friday. So for an hour, you can either talk to your mother on the phone. We had these phone lines where you can, like, it was like a hotline. You pick up the phone and they'd be like, you know, assalamu alaikum, wa alaikum assalam. Can I speak to my mom? She's in the women's house.
Around your mom?
Oh no, your family was completely separated. You didn't. So yeah, you didn't see your mother. Once we got in the community, I lived apart from my mother, and I couldn't just go see her when I wanted to.
At 11 years old.
At 10, yeah. If I would have been younger, it would have been younger. If I would have been 5, it would have been the same thing. If I would have been 4, it would have been the same thing.
Okay, go ahead. Go finish. So you called her up.
So you have this tiffle time, which is baby time. That's between 7 and 8. You can either be allowed, if your mother gets permission for you to go to her, or she can come get you and you can go where she's at for an hour, or you can talk to her on the phone up into an hour. But then you type the phone line, so you really can't do that. So as we're in there for about 8 months, have experienced our first winter in it, my mother has figured out she can get food stamps quietly. So then by then I felt more comfortable telling her, like, you know, I didn't eat dinner this week or da-da. So then she would be like, come to me during tiffle time. She made a point for me to come, and then my fat ass would get some food. And she would have like regular foods, and I'd be sneaking and I had to brush my teeth real good, go back, make it seem like I didn't have nothing in my mom's house, you know, or wherever she was at. So yeah, it was like that. And then the food.
That is a psychological, you know, that's a psychological psyop on you.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
So your mom kind of looked out for you in that way.
Mm-hmm. She absolutely did. I think I want to say it was one of the rare times I remember my mother kind of having, I think she was impressed by how strong I was. Meaning, I don't think I was even complaining about it. I think I just said it like, oh yeah, I haven't had dinner for like 4 days. They keep making them beans and rice. I wasn't complaining.
Oh,
and I think I was being rewarded for not complaining. If that makes sense.
Well, were you the only? Are you the only girl that was there with your mothers?
No, it was a lot of young. I was.
You had sisters that were there. I didn't catch the first.
Oh no, I'm my mother's only. I was her only daughter at the time, and I'm her oldest and first daughter. I'm the oldest child. I'm the oldest granddaughter. I'm the oldest grandchild. I'm the first grandchild, first daughter. I got all that on my head.
How many brothers
for the family?
How many brothers?
It was Daniel. It is Daniel. Jelani passed away. Kaleem, Joshua was born with David's dad, and then she had Salima, my baby sister, who she also had with David's father, and she's still with David's father.
So were all of these children in the compound with you?
No. When I was at the compound, David would have been the only one that's in the compound, but I never met him on the compound. But he was on there. I just didn't meet him because they keep us pretty separated. Like that, you know. So I didn't, I think he would have been much younger than me. Yeah, yes, especially on the compound, because Dr. York needs to have access to who he needs to have access to. So tight bonds are not promoted the closer you get to him. You can have those tighter bonds away from him in the other communities, but the closer you get to him, unless those tight bonds benefit him, that's not promoted. Even down to, I remember.
No, go ahead. Huh? Finish what you're spinning. I want you to finish your thought, and then I want to talk about your stepbrother.
It reminded me, like when we were in Spring Valley, my friend that I want to get on here, she's still trying to figure out if it's okay with her husband. They're having their conversation, so she may join us on another one of these, you know.
Sit down.
So, but she told me we were little girls, same age. We had a similar story where we were not born into the community. Our mothers brought us in, so we were connected because we realized we lived like within a block of each other around the same time we both would have been not in the community. So we were bonding over like the world, for lack of a better word, because that's what we got in trouble for, talking about the dunya. And so the fact that we were talking about the world in public school and ice cream and pizza and libraries, essentially as little girls, we were talking about, it was a problem that we had formed this little best friend unit.
Disciplined and that
we were her mom. To this day, her mom has a certain aversion to me because, like, basically, you have those parents who want that clean within the community. And this friend became what we call, she knows I talked about this, but she became a ring wearer, which the girls who got rings, we understand they had some type of close proximity, if you know what I mean, with Dr. York.
So
before I knew what these rings meant, I used to.
He assaulted her.
Yes.
Wow, I'm sorry for that.
Yes.
Wow. Oh wow.
It's not always processed. It's not always processed that way, and I'll say that in regards to her because I know, while we know cognitively that's what it is, that's not what it is when you're talking about it and when you were there. Meaning you were doing what you thought. Meaning it's like a double memory. Like, you know, it should not have been like that, and certain things should not have happened. But you remember while it was happening, you were happy to be there, that it was happening.
Oh my God. Yeah, that is a serious, that's some serious cognitive dissonance. And I understand she's not here. I would definitely.
You get what I'm saying?
I wouldn't have approached it that way for someone.
Right. And that's why one of my best friends. And so I know what's important for what, yeah.
Yeah. And she doesn't,
I feel you, Nuwapian. I feel you. Yes, all that.
She doesn't have to discuss any of that, anything that she feels uncomfortable about. But it is important for us to point out, for her, looking out for her well-being, her mental well-being, for us to mention, yes, she was, he preyed upon her.
Yeah, for all of us children.
Yeah. So what about you? I'm happy to hear that you didn't, even though you're very traumatized. The food thing is very, let me tell you, people don't really look at it.
I'll be deprogramming for the rest of my life. Yes. I still use my tools. I've had the pleasure and I'm just so blessed, and I'm so grateful for, I call it that good white people insurance. I have had a lot of therapy, cognitive behavioral therapy, dialectical behavioral therapy. I've done my therapy without the assistance of pharmaceutical drugs and all that type of stuff. I did the work mentally to repave my brain, and there are tools that I need to use continually. And I actually have a goal of being able to afford to get a specific group therapy led by a man named Patrick that I want to eventually get into his container, because I understand, based on what I endured and the fact that my mother would have been my first abuser, that therapy is going to be something I do for the rest of my life.
Right.
Deprogramming is for the rest of my life.
You're really good at, you're already very, I was thinking before I came on here, I muted out. I want to be very candid with everyone. I didn't know anything about you until I sat down right here now. And I said, there are so many people that have been harmed in cults that it's like, it's almost.
It's still a new concept for Black people too, because we don't even go to therapy yet. Now there's cult shit. What? Like, we just processed that we need to do therapy. Now there's cult stuff. Like,
we need therapy. We do know, but I was going to say there is a path. There are things we do. Yes, you share your story. It's very cathartic. It's very healing. But it's not just about sharing your story like we all do. We also have to get some type of therapy away from sharing the story publicly. But it's a beautiful thing. It's a very powerful thing. Sharing the story is one of the most powerful things to do in healing, especially publicly. So I can do that. I want to go back to what you were saying about what I was saying to you about the eating. I pick up cues from you, and you said I love to eat, basically love food, and a lot of people do, and it's a beautiful thing, it's a spiritual thing. To take the food away from you, can you talk to us about how traumatic that was? I mean, I know you're very wait, first I want to say you're so pleasant. You don't have to always be smiling. I love you. You're great. But I really want to talk to us about
I'm a smiler. But then at the same time, I'll say this,
the smiling is fine. I'm saying you don't have to feel like you have to spare our feelings. You can really let us know.
Oh no.
I'm sensing there was a lot of trauma with the food issue, which is very serious. The sexual trauma is extremely priority serious, but then also starving children, that's a big deal. That is a huge deal. So can you talk, because you said something about your mom too. Did you see your mom, even though she would help you with the food, giving you the extra, do you see her as responsible for also traumatizing you with the food? And can you talk, is that too personal? Can we talk about that?
No. Yeah, with the food thing, I didn't feel traumatized with my mother for the food thing. I felt traumatized with my mother with the responsibility thing. Like I candidly remember being about 11 years old and she came home from, I guess, propagating. And I'm not sure what the experience was like for her, but I'm an 11-year-old who for some reason was expected to have dinner together and bathe and take care of my 3 little brothers. 2 of them are toddlers. One is a 10-year-old. I'm supposed to get this young strap. Like and I remember for whatever reason it wasn't done correctly. And my mom said, I'm gonna whoop you. I'm gonna beat you. Like I'm gonna give you a spanking. And she took the belt out. And I remember looking at her like trying to reason with her, like, but mom, like, I'm helping you here. Like, let's talk about it. And I'm telling her, I said, let's talk about it. I said, I don't think I should get a whooping. I think we should figure out a way. And I said that to her.
Wow.
And my mom's West Indian, so she's like, oh, so you wanna talk to me? You wanna be a big up woman with it? And I said, no, I just don't. I think I'm too old to be getting a whooping if I'm actually helping in the house. I could do it better. We can talk about how I could do it better. And so she proceeds to like try to whip me, and I grabbed that belt, like I grabbed it.
It was like,
said, oh, you want?
It was like a moment, right? Like, I don't think so.
I grabbed her hand. She said, oh, you want to fight like a real woman? And my mother bit me so hard that I just took the ass whooping.
Oh my God.
And I just tried to do better. And I was 11 years old when that happened.
Oh, wow. And
so those are the things that really, like, when it comes to my mom, like this, she's a Virgo. So I know she wanted perfection from me. And I'm 11. Wow. And I'm trying to give it to her. That was the fucking thing. I'm trying to give it to her. To the point where maybe another time within that same year, while she's trying to figure out being a divorced mom, a single mom within this community setting. So she has to go out and work because things are changing. So there's no brother that works for her. She got to go out and work for her family. Nobody else is going to give you money. So she's figuring it out. And my brother Kaleem, I think he would have been 2. So now I'm like 12 and 2 or 3. And he's the youngest. And he's in the stroller. And we have this big empty, like, you know how it is in New York. We have like this, we call it the courtyard, but it's really an abandoned parking lot that's fenced in and on the side of one of our buildings, on the side of the building where East do schools in, not the masjid building, but the building, I almost remember the name, 508 or something like that. But it was our teacher's building. And this has this big courtyard that was an abandoned parking lot next to it. And we're in this gravel courtyard. And my brother tips over the stroller. And I never seen nothing like that. When he got it up, his mouth was like exploded. Of course, I was scared. So now I have to find an adult to help me figure out my brother's mouth. It turned out he had cut his tongue in half. His lip was split. A tooth was out. And my mother is somewhere in Brooklyn, Queens, Manhattan. There's no cell phones. So they take him the emergency room. I can't go with him. Somehow my mother comes back home with the baby, or how, I don't even remember. It's such a blur. I just remember being horrified at his mouth and being very afraid because it was so much blood. And I was responsible. So if I got a whooping for getting dinner wrong, you can imagine the fear of like what's going to happen because of my brother's mouth. Of course, she didn't blow up on me, but just the fear that she would was enough to be like, to this day, I still feel that anxiety of like, what's going to happen to me and who's going to stop.
Did you worry more about your mom spanking you, whipping you, than the well-being of your brother? Like at that moment where it was
both. It was both at equal extremes. It was very like, I was scared for him. I didn't even know, I didn't know if he was going to live. That's how I was thinking, the way the blood was pouring out of his mouth.
Oh, wow. I'm so sorry.
And that would not be the last time that I saw that particular brother being in a situation where his life could have hit his head. And so that happens again. And I actually lose a little brother dealing with my mom and this cult and this bull stuff.
Is it okay for you to tell us about that?
Yeah, sure. That segues right into how at 15, 16 years old. I want to say 15, I got to look back at the years because it's either my junior year or my senior year. That summer before, my mother sends me and my 3 brothers. This is after she's married. After my step brothers and steps, we all live together. David's on the land, but his other children, we all live together like a blended family. And my mom decided after Savior's Day, we would go with her ex-husband, the man she came into the community with. We would go back to Philadelphia with him and spend the summer there. We never made it to Philadelphia because he was still a drug addict and he was coming down off his high. And while we were in a 16-passenger van, there was other people in the vehicle as well. But my 2 little brothers were in the, like, if there's a 16-passenger van, you got the person who's driving and the passenger, and then there's that one seat that goes across the back right there. That is where my 2 little brothers were sitting. And at the time, they would have been 6 and 5 or 6 and 4. They had like that. They had their seatbelts on, but I remember my mother telling me that when you are in a plane or a bus, you sit back to the middle, because if there's a collision, buses usually collide from the front. And if you're towards the middle, towards the back, on the driver's side, you'll live because the driver saves himself. These are like these weird things. If you grew up in New York City, you learn all these type of survival hacks. Wow. I don't know. And so if you're on a city bus, there's a best place to sit should there be an accident. And my mother always said the middle to the back behind the driver, because the driver's instinct is gonna save himself. So I tell my father, because it's a 16-passenger van, and we're coming from Edenton, Georgia, the compound, because it's Savior's Day week, which means it's Dr. York's birthday, and it's over. And so people make this pilgrimage from wherever they are all the way to Edenton, Georgia. And him and his wife at the time, and it was 4 people with them, a young lady, and I think a guy she was seeing, and 2 other young men, people in their 20s, if you will. They drove down with them, and so they were driving back with us. And so those people took up like the seats in the middle, and me and my brother Daniel and my brother Jelani, my brother Kaleem, we were sitting right across the back. So as we get into the trip, I say to Preston, that's his name, I say to him that it's not safe. No, my stepdad. I tell him it's not safe for us to sit here. I tell him that. I said my mom would say that. But imagine how the daughter of the woman that you no longer with, she over here trying to tell you, like, again, like, it won't stop. This bitch is following you, always telling you what to do, right? That kind of, I can imagine the man, because at the time I'm like 15 years old, and I'm very protective over my brothers. So I'm just like, this is not safe. We need to be all the way to the back. And he says, you and Daniel can go to the back, but I want them close to me because I haven't seen my sons in a while. I'm a kid. I'm going to argue with that. So we go all the way to the back of the 16-passenger van, and then we fall asleep. When I wake up, because it's like, I felt like I moved. But when I wake up, I feel something on my head, and I'm down like this. Like, I wake up in the car, in the van, like that. Like, why am I on my stomach? Why am I on my stomach?
Oh my God.
So basically what happens is he nodded off in North Carolina. This was televised. It was in the papers. It was a big freaking deal. So he wrapped the 16-passenger van around those big steel poles that hold all the lights and whatever on the highway that you would have to like go down in the highway. It's like these big steel things, like rods, but they're like huge. When you stand next to them, they're about 4 feet in diameter, that kind of thing. And he nodded off as the car behind us, the guy who was behind us, I heard him tell the police, like, we saw the van like go down, and then it just hit the thing.
Oh my God. Preston
woke up right in time to see the pole. So what did the driver do? He saved himself. So you know what he did? He went, "Er." So basically the impact was on the passenger side. The woman in the front seat lost her legs.
Oh my God.
Oh my God.
All the seats folded forward, which would have been a factory thing. So my mom got a check for all of us in there. But the point is, my brother Kaleem, the youngest, had basically his whole, he was 4 years old, but his face was this swollen because of the impact.
Jesus.
Jelani didn't make it. He had head trauma.
Oh my God.
I'm so
The young lady, she broke some limbs. The man sitting next to her, his parents gave him to the state. He was never the same again. The 2 men behind them had broken limbs. One of them had a severed hand. My brother Daniel, who's back there with me, had a gash in his leg, and I woke up under the windshield. So I was the first person awake in the accident as well.
And you were?
So I woke up.
I mean, not fine, but you just had.
I have so many near-death stories. I've almost died 5 times. That was the second time I almost went through the windshield in my lifetime.
Well,
so
let me ask you, take a deep breath and just take a minute. Just take a minute for that. Because I want you to take a sip. Yeah. And I just need to say this right here. You have had so much trauma that this is just like reaching into a grab bag of horror stories. And
it is. I don't look like what I've come through. No. And it's okay. When I say it's okay, what I mean is that, again, I've had good white people therapy. I journal. I'm a spiritual teacher. I'm learning about trauma. So I'm about to be certified in trauma and behavioral. Like, I'm doing the work. I have a ministry. So I'm comfortable talking about these things because it's not only me that these type of things have happened to in the world. Right. And I do believe that we choose our contracts coming here. And I'm understanding at 43 why I chose this type of lifetime this time. And I've made peace with it. I'm not angry. Yeah. I just want people to know, if I could sum it up real quick, just in case for time, like, to me, if I could just speak to the general public, like, for me, it's as simple as, like, we all do things to be better people, whether it's join a cult, join a religious group, go on a diet. But it's this thing where we don't talk and listen to each other. Meaning, if we all do this ritual, and then I come out of the ritual, and after the ritual, I'm not telling nobody that, all of a sudden I want little boy booty holes. Let's just say, little boy booty holes just seem like the thing for me. And I can't tell nobody that I feel this way all of a sudden after doing said ritual, eating said food, hanging out with said person, after listening to said song. There's this thing in our culture that we're not talking to each other. And I don't know if it's a Black culture, a family culture, a religious culture, a human nature culture, but there's this culture that when something really different is happening to one of us outside of the societal norms, we don't feel empowered to talk to someone about that.
That's true.
So I talk about these things because I want people to feel empowered that no matter what choice they make in life, whether you come find me, talk to me. I know you can't confess to me now because of some bull stuff I got to do what I got to do as a civil person, But we should be able to talk to one another and like what if my mother could have talked to someone about, hey, this man is cheating on me and do these drugs and I don't know what to do with him. What if she would have had wise counsel then?
So was this?
I would have never been in the Muslim community. You get what I'm saying?
So he's the one who. Before I ask about, did he bring you in with your mom? But let me ask you: after the crash was before the divorce?
The crash was years after. Meaning, the crash happened at least. They got divorced when I was like 12. The crash happened when I was 15.
So she just let him. Why was your mother not?
So Jelani, because she was already married. She's going back to Augusta, Georgia with our family after the Savior's Day, and we're going to get a summer away from her new family. Essentially, that was how it was sold to us. That apparently her natural born children were stressed, so she was sending us away because we were stressed about the new arrangements.
Let me keep asking. Let me go stick on that right there. So you were essentially in the car with your
stepfather. He wasn't even. I didn't even like the man.
He wasn't.
Yeah.
Your mom was like, "I need a break from you guys."
Essentially, because we were showing we were not. It's something about when you have them kids not in the cult, meaning that none of us were born in the cult, not even the little ones. So we all had this experience of like somewhat regular life, even my little brothers and sisters, my little brothers. So we were not, meaning we weren't responding to the transition of Brooklyn to Augusta, Georgia. I was always a chubby girl. I'm small in stature, but I'm kind of rounded. I got down to 103 pounds when we moved to Augusta, Georgia. I stopped eating. I remember I stopped eating. And I got so skinny that I remember putting on some pants that was like a size 0. I should never in no point in my life have ever been able to wear a size 0 pants. I was sticks and bones. I was depressed. And my mother was being supported by her mom and everybody else in her decisions because, I get my grandmother's thinking I wasn't with my children. You're trying to appease them any way you can. But no one's dealing with the trauma. No one's dealing with the fact of how they felt when grandma left. No one's dealing with shit, really. And I was that child since a young age. Monica said, alchemizing energy can tell you how I am. Like I have this weird way of putting my foot in my mouth. Like I'll ask the question or say the thing that everyone's probably thinking, but they're not going to say.
Are you a Gemini?
No, but I'm very Plutonian. I'm a Leo rising. I'm a Capricorn sun. I'm a Leo. I know my chart. Meaning again, part of self-development and healing meant I had to learn as much about myself organically, who I am, based on having my mind fucked 7 ways since Sunday, almost up until the age of being like 18.
Oh wow, I'm so sorry. No, I'm sorry about that, but I love how you're approaching it, where you know, it was a part of your, I love how you said your contract that you chose. I want to talk to you more away from the trauma and the York information. I would love to talk to you about your spiritual journey.
You
and
can, Alchemizing Energy can give you my phone number, my information, and my email or whatever.
Oh, definitely. I do want to go back to the brother.
AT, do you have any questions? I feel like you have a million of them.
I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. I'm kind of psychic, and I just want to. I want him to make a sound because it's secondhand trauma to hearing this stuff. So I really like how you wanted me to breathe. I want AT to breathe, and I want to hear him make a sound.
Let me let the mic go. I just did want to clarify. The brother who hurt his tongue is the brother who passed away.
No, that was a different brother.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much. Okay, sorry about that. I'll hand the mic over to you, AT. And
no, you're fine. You're fine. No, it was a lot to process. So
yeah,
I know. I can feel him over there, like, what the fuck?
Yeah. So I kind of wanted to take it back a little bit because I remember you said when you guys were in New York, you guys didn't go to school, you guys were homeschooled, but when you got to Augusta, you were able to go to school. So how was that transition?
Horrible, because even though they say we were being homeschooled, I don't remember learning anything. I remember the girls did a few baking classes. We did some baking classes and we did some embroidery classes. I remember that, like when they were trying to organize like learning for us, and we literally had some baking classes and some embroidery classes.
You were doing stuff for the business, basically.
It wasn't even for the business. It was like they just need something to do. And there's this old Hispanic lady there who was like, I know how to do the embroideries. And so we're doing I miss her. I love her. She's a very special, beautiful woman in the community. But she taught us, like, to this day, I know how to do a butterfly stitch because of her. And then we learned how to cook. We was making the cakes and the cupcakes. No life skills, no actual life skills. So I do remember doing, you have to test in middle school. I do remember taking one standardized test. It was a big deal. We had to go all the way across town, and I went to an actual classroom, and I remember it being like, it was like how Alchemizing Energies, when she first was on, how her backdrop looked. That's how the memory is. That's how it felt in the moment. Like you can't see these people. They're not in the organization. Just take the test. It's like you blur everything out, but what you need to be doing for the cult. So I need to take this test. Hurry up, take it. I don't even know what I scored on the test to this day. All I know is when we got to Augusta, Georgia, I was reading at 3 years old. So my mom says I scored pretty high on the IQ test. I don't know. Again, I don't know these things. I just know I was 7 in the 3rd grade. And then when we got to Augusta, Georgia, when they tested me, everyone else had to go back, it seemed like, to middle school, repeat 8th grade. They started me 13 years old, boom, 9th grade. And so it was hard. It was challenging. I did graduate on time, but it was challenging. Socially, it was very challenging. I didn't hit my stride until when we first moved to Augusta, Georgia. We lived like in the suburban area called Hepzibah, Georgia. So it's kind of like rural, like literally it's the South, and they're still having race riots in the lunchroom. I had never seen anything like that. I'm from New York City, where we hang out with Jewish kids, Chinese kids, Portuguese kids, everybody's hanging out. So to see white kids and black kids in the lunchroom, like a movie, like just back and forth, and then literally coming together and exploding in a fight. I've never seen nothing like that to this day. But eventually we moved to the inner city of Augusta, Georgia, which I love because now we had sidewalks, there was corner stores, there was homeless people, it was a train. So
it felt more like home, right?
I needed it. Oh, it felt, and I thrived. I started a drama club in that. They had no drama club. I'm like, how y'all have no drama? So I started a drama club. I was in choir. I was on the band. I thrived. I did much better because I felt like I was the teachers. I made it through those years, and that would have been 11th and 12th grade year. I graduated from Lucy Craft Laney High School in Augusta, Georgia, and in '98. And I love that school. I grew up there, and that was right after I stayed on the this is for Nepal. She's gonna have questions. After living on the compound in Edenton, Georgia, with Dr. York. So after my brother passes away, because high school. This is when we're talking about high school and being in the regular world. We're still talking about being in the cult because we're still in it. So that summer, when my little brother passes away, I'm the one that has to make the phone call to call my mom and say this happens. Oh. And I was the only person who didn't. I had a bruise, like this really. It didn't even break the skin, like just a bruise on my neck. I was the only person. None of my nails popped off. I remember looking at my nails on the hospital stretcher, like, how is my nails still intact? I remember having that thought, like my nails are intact, and I just went through this horrific accident. Right. Anyway, for whatever the Masonic thing that whatever my parents were in, they were allowed to take my brother's body from the hospital without having an autopsy done, and he was buried Egyptian style in Augusta, Georgia. And we did not go to the funeral because I'm a little medium psychic child, and I could feel things hovering around him that I didn't like, and I could see. So I told my mom, I'm not comfortable going home with the body. I don't know what we're gonna do, but I don't want to go in that car with the body and I remember stopping right there because if I told her what I saw, I don't have time to be going to the crazy house. So I just didn't stay. And what I saw was essentially now like entities. Like my brother's still in there, but there's entities like looking at his vessel.
Were they swirling around?
They were swirling around him. And it was like he was in and out at the same time because he was still, now that I'm older, I know he was a baby and he was still kind of shocked about what had happened.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So he was hanging around. He was in and out in a like he was like almost like he was the way it looked to me like he was sitting up in himself. So half of his energy was out the body and half of the energy was in the body, and he was just kind of confused. And then every time he looked at me, he kind of giggled like because he knew I could see him, and it was freaking me the fuck out. But then I saw the swirlies, and it was like he wasn't because he's a child, and this particular brother he had a spirit of a warrior, so it almost like he wasn't even afraid of the swirlies. Like a Hercules type of spirit baby. He wasn't even, he was not afraid of these things, but I was, and I was not comfortable going. So my parents essentially left me and my brother Daniel in North Carolina for 3 days by ourselves with enough money to order pizza for 3 days. And then they came and got us.
Were you in a hotel or in a house or where?
We were in a hotel by ourselves.
Why did you have to tell her that horrific news when there's adults?
There were no adults. The guy who drove, he did break his collarbone from the impact, but besides me, everybody else was there was no one who could have made that phone call.
No, you mean that you were the people who were injured.
I was the least injured basically, and the people behind us, they're trailing us because there's so many people on the caravan going back from Savior's Day back to wherever their respective places in the east and the north. So yeah, there was people who were like behind us on the trip, but after they saw that I made the phone call, they got back on the road and got back on their journey because they weren't with us. They just saw what happened. So they don't know us. They don't know my mom.
They didn't pull over and help you after the crash? Like,
oh yeah, they did. But I mean, they were, when they pulled over on the crash, I think we do have cell phones, but the way that accident happened, it's like, I remember crawling back. By the time I crawled back over all the seats back to my seat, and I'm pushing Daniel because he's knocked out, and I'm pushing him. And when he wakes up and sees his leg, he just starts screaming. But literally, as he starts screaming, they're pounding the window to break all the windows to get us out of it, to start pulling everyone out. Because the 16-passenger van on the passenger side where the doors are has been crunched like an accordion to like,
oh my God.
The impact, meaning we came down a hill accelerating and he only woke up in time to swerve.
Oh my God, that's just horrible.
That's why his wife, and if I may say, we all know this is a family, like this person who was driving the car. I'm not saying he's a horrible person. I'm just saying he took his contract here very seriously. His character is his character. And when I say that, what I mean is literally that woman that he was married to at the time who lost her legs in that car, and that she became I think it's called paraplegic.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
He stays married to her. And when they get a new house, from what I understand, what I've heard is that he kept her quarters on the downstairs and would sneak women upstairs and be having women and sex upstairs while his wife, but she can't come upstairs. You get what I'm saying? So this is just showing the character of someone who never, and I talked to my brother, Kaleem. If you see Kaleem now, he's big, strapping. He's just a beautiful young man. He's turned into a wonderful young man. He lives in Atlanta now, and we talk about these things. And he said, yeah, my dad still ain't shit. Or my brothers and sisters is fucked up because this man is not thinking. He's not raising his, so it's not like I'm lying or even putting 10 on 20. This man still is, I like to say, he's taking his contract very seriously.
But did he bring you into the call? I missed the beginning. Did he bring your family in, or who brought you in? Your mom or him?
My mom brought us in because that man that she was married to at the time, Nepal, had a raging cocaine crack addiction, and he was cheating on her. And so she thought to take him into an organization that gives him cash money every day, and he can choose whatever woman he wants, whatever he wants to, would be the right thing to do. She thought he might not see none of that, but see like the Black Power aspect and be like, yeah, Black Power, Muslims, and that's not how it processed. That's not at all how it processed.
Right.
So here's another.
Yeah.
So
go ahead.
Getting back to Edmonton, because I know, because we're, I don't want to go too long. It's about to be 2 hours.
It's an hour and 39 minutes.
Right. I wanted to really touch on the things that happened in Edmonton because you were there during that whole time. Were you there during the raid as well?
No, I was there for maybe almost a month, meaning after the accident happened, after we did finally go back to Augusta after those 3 days, and in those 3 days time they managed to have a whole procession for my brother, and he was literally buried like a mummy in Augusta, Georgia. He had a Egyptian funeral, and he had Egyptian funerary rites, and he was buried masonically with all that stuff. It was, from what I heard, it was a very beautiful.
Who did the procession?
Brother Tahaka, or we knew him as Buck, and a few of other Dr. York's right hand men, because this would have been the time Dr. York he's in Edenton. He's doing his big one right now. So my brother got an actual Egyptian, if you will, burial. And from what I heard, it was a very rainy day. And when they started the procession, the rain literally just stopped. And they were able to get through the whole burial. And then when it was the last person closed the door, the rain literally started back. And so what happens is, at that time, they send me, my mother reveals to me that Kadesh or Dr. York had been asking me to come to live with him so he could teach me how to be a young lady since I was like 12, since we were in New York. And my mother told me that she kept telling them no, because what can he teach you about being a little girl? But you're a teenager now. And this is like 2 weeks after my brother passed away. So she says, but they want you to come up there now, considering everything that's happened, we think it would be a good thing for you to go up there. And so I'm like, okay, I'm cult brained it out. I'm like, sure, I'll live on Kadesh. Like, it's a high honor. Like, I get to live on the land. I have some of my friends that already live there. Like, yeah, yes, absolutely. I feel like I was a good Muslim. I was a good child. So of course, this is good. And on the way there, my mother just looks at me and she says, if Dr. York tries to fuck you, whether you fuck him or not, just call me first. I was just like, what? Ew. First of all, he got titties. He's an old man. And I was also going up there because I had started to like a brother named Tariq, who was Dr. York's, one of his sound engineers. And if I was 15, Tariq was 25 or 24 at the time. And he was going to be my mate. And there is this unsaid ritual of, like, when you get a mate, if you're young and attractive, you have to go to the land first. Especially if your mate, like, he lived on Edenton. So the way the ritual goes, but I didn't know this at the time. It was revealed to me after the fact that, yes, when a young woman decides she wants to take a brother, especially one that lives already on the compound with Dr. York, there's this thing where they invite her to the land. Essentially, from what it is so that Dr. York can get first dibs. And so the man that I was going to marry, or that was going to be my mate, should have been there when I arrived, but he was not. He was sent off the land. So that was this thing they would do with the young men as well. Like, oh, you about to get this woman? Okay, we're going to send you off the land. She's going to come on the land. Whatever happens, or whatever don't happen, whatever is whatever. And then you're allowed to be with her, whether we invite your ass back to the land or we send her wherever you're at.
Wow.
Whatever community y'all are in. So when I got there, I was shocked to see that Tariq was not there at the land. And I had no intention of having sex with Dr. York. I thought that was disgusting and nasty. And I just remember thinking, like, he has man boobs, Mom. He's an old person. That's gross. And it wasn't even about whether it was, like, morally right or wrong. I just was disgusted at the idea. Like, he's unattractive. And and so, but my husband to be at 15 is 25 already. So it's that weird thing, right? And so Tariq is not there. I see Dr. York. Well, I see Rabboni. So I say, Rabboni, I'm about to damn near get on my knees and be doing, like, the prayer thing. He says, no, don't do all that. Just call me Dr. York. And I was laughing at myself with my haircut because I had very long hair when I was 15. It's down my back, wavy, West Indian type, whatever hair. And he asked me, was I going to cut it? Because at the time, most of the girls had this hairstyle with a braid hanging down the side, the ninty braid. I thought it was the ugliest shit I ever seen in my fucking life. Ain't no damn way. I'm in public school. I'm not doing that. So I'm already the weirdo kid. I'm not going to shave my head bald. I'm just not doing that. My mother has that style. I'm not doing that. I don't even let her come to the school because she got that dumbass haircut. No. So he's asked me, am I going to cut it? And then he starts being funny with me, saying, oh, because you got that 7 ether. It's always the 7 ether girls don't want to cut their hair because, da, da, da. And I'm like, yeah, and speaking of which, I'm going to need some hair gel. So he kind of liked me because I had spunk, meaning I'm not thinking this is abusive. Also, it became very clear when my mother sent me to Kadesh, Edenton, Georgia, with this trunk. Do y'all remember when you go to Walmart and buy trunks? She bought me one of these trunks, and she packed it to where you couldn't I couldn't even pull it. It was packed up with nuts, dry fruits, tea, brown sugar, chips, all the dry type of, not food, but just dry snacks, things like that. I mean, to the brim. Like, I'm like, why would I need all these things?
Oh my
Because they don't feed us. Meaning,
Right.
so we would go grocery shopping maybe once a month for all the people that was up there. It was still separated. So certain women, but separated not the same way the communities are. The communities was very standard. This house has all the girls in it, different rooms for a different age group. The boys have their one big house. The men have their one big house. The women have a house with the babies associated. On Kadesh, it was like, now that I look at it, I was in the house with all the girls that he probably wasn't, you know, because the ones that he was, you didn't see them day to day. They would be constantly either coming out of his house or doing things, doing busy work until the nighttime. Then you didn't see them. So the girls that I saw at nighttime clearly weren't like the choice girls, if that makes sense, because they were there in the bed at nighttime with me while I was in the bed.
Right. The ones that he didn't want.
For whatever reason, right. And, or at that time or whatever. So, because there were always a group of girls that were with him everywhere he went, he kept them close, and they ranged in ages of like 11, 12 to 18.
Oh.
You know, so he always, and then sometimes there would be some young boys with them, but they would be like, if you didn't know what you were looking at, just like kids hanging out with like a pastor or a reverend, you know, play fighting or whatever. But if you knew what you was looking at, you knew this was his group.
How did your brother get in there? How did your brother get onto the
his mother was one of Dr. York's concubines or wives. So
is this before you were there or after?
Mm-hmm. This was before meaning David was born in the community. He was born into this. He never experienced. Some kids were born into it. I've heard stories of some children who came in when they were 4 or 5 with their parents from the regular world, and then after like a couple of months, they couldn't talk to their parents because they've learned Arabic as a young kid so fast at that young age, and the parent didn't learn Arabic, and they couldn't even talk to their parents anymore. It's that kind of environment where it's about Dr. York and whatever he got going on. So we're on Kadesh, and they go grocery shopping, and it's like, yeah, you buy food, tomatoes, salad, whatever. It's more vegetables and stuff. But when that's over, I noticed that everyone ate all that good stuff really fast. And then it was this thing about save the potatoes, and I didn't understand it. And then I got it. They save the potatoes for last because the potatoes you can boil the potato and the water from the potato, you can add stuff to it, make it like a potato soup with some potatoes. You can mash the potatoes, you can fry the potatoes. The skin is always saved because that's the last part to be eaten, where basically at some point in the month, you're going to have a week of nothing but potato skins for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Fried. Goodness. And you may have some ketchup to go along with it if there's ketchup around. If not, then and then there's flour, and there's always flour, so you can make you like a little flour tortilla to eat the potato skins with, or just make you like a little flour tortilla and just have that. And then I understood why my mother sent me with all the food. The people higher up know what it is. So she was one of those people who transported people back and forth to Kadesh. She was one of those people who was high up on the totem pole. She had seen behind the veil. I'd seen behind the veil, but I still didn't know that it was like this. And so I don't
mean to interrupt you, but did anyone ever try to take your food or ask you for the food in the trunk? Or
I was giving it away. I gave the food. I gave it away because, I mean, these are my friends, essentially.
Right.
These are my friends. And there was also this thing, too, where you know how in the case they described him giving certain people herpes or whatever that was, right?
Right.
I remember a few of the girls who I knew were down with the cause. They had their rings on. When I came up there, remember, I'm in the world, so they're kind of trapped. So I got hair gel in my hair, waves. We're wearing regular clothes, and by now, it's been 2-3 years since we've left Brooklyn. I look a little bit cuter. You know, I'm dressed kind of.
You're hip.
So it's the standard dress. I'm hip. I'm hip and trendy, even with my Muslim garb on. You know, and so there's this thing. So now I'm being sized up by the girls who are enjoying their position, for lack of a better way of putting it. And there's this talk of, I'll never forget it. One of the girls was being mean. She's like, "Oh, these girls come from the street and they bring all these diseases." And I didn't really know what she meant. I was like, what she mean by, I don't have no cold. I don't have the flu. I wasn't thinking STD because I wasn't having sex.
Right.
I wasn't sexually active at that time. So I didn't know she meant like a STD, you know? So I just was like, I don't have no flu. And I remember that being a conversation for a little. And then one of my homegirls just said, don't worry about it. You know, one of my actual friends there. And so the environment is like this. I remember going to the basketball court. I feel like this is our Kadesh. I'm on the land. So I'm kind of like exploring. And Dr. York walks up with a group of girls, and I say, Dr. York, we got the basketball court. You got a basketball? He's like, yeah, right over there. So I go get the basketball. I start playing, and then a few of the girls that was with him start playing with me. And he's like, what y'all bitches doing? He literally said, what y'all bitches doing? And it kind of took me aback, like, So you know how like awkward the ball just keeps bouncing, but I'm not bouncing no more because I was shocked that he said, "What y'all bitches doing?" And they were all like, and he was like, "Nah, she asked to play basketball. Y'all been living here with this basketball court forever. Ain't none of y'all ever asked me to play basketball, so I don't see what y'all are doing." And it made me feel bad because I got them in trouble. That's how I felt like I got them in trouble. And then I didn't want to play ball no more because how the fuck I'm supposed to play? Again, I'm in the real world a little bit, so my mind is like, how do I have social skills. So I'm like, I can't play ball no more. First of all, I don't want to play with, and then that makes me like I'm showing in their face like I could do something you can't do. I'm trying to be down with the clique. I don't want no problems.
So let me ask
I witnessed him.
You know, that's a tactic of him setting them against you. For
yeah,
that was very.
So they would never trust me.
Yeah,
and especially since I'm giving out food and snacks and stuff. Yeah, we got to isolate this girl right now.
Wow. So when you came in, he knew that you obviously were David's stepsister.
I believe he would have known that information.
Of course. And that he looked at you I think from what I hear, it sounds like he was trying to size you up and find out like he admired you and he knew you weren't some pushover, but he still was trying.
I had that same gumption that my mother had that allowed her to kind of go up in the ranks.
Yeah. And
I was acting kind of real.
I think he still was trying to find a way where he could tap into you if he had the chance.
Because that's when we also had the nightclub Ramses. And since I started a drama club at high school, I'm on the female ensemble. I sing, dance, whatever. So my thing is like, I want to perform. Even at that age, I knew I was a performer, a songwriter. So I'm like, well, we have the nightclub. Maybe I can do like a teen night and I could be. And then when he saw how like, I remember him seeing like, oh, and he was like, nah, we don't need that. And he was like, you can lead a meeting. But you invited me to the meeting to be a part of the meeting. And I remember being like confused, like, why am I being asked to lead the meeting that you just asked me to join so we could figure out things to do for Club Ramses for the teenagers. And the minute I expressed what I would like to do, I was asked to lead. And so that was mind boggling. So I was upset about that. Mind you, my brother has passed away in this horrific accident only 2 weeks before I'm there.
Wow. Yeah.
So I'm in this state of mind where I'm not, I know now that I was disassociated as hell.
Right.
And they had that sound playing 24/7.
Oh wow. I didn't know that. That's wild.
Yeah, there's a speaker that plays the Om sound 24/7. Like fucking Chinese torture. You can hear it in the house, there's no place on the land you cannot hear that sound. It's very loud.
Is it his voice and recorded doing it?
Nope. It's probably some ancient Tibetan something, and it's just going and going and going 24 hours a day.
So did he ever try to
go ahead?
Can you talk to us about a time when
I think I'm about to answer that question.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I had witnessed his interaction with a lot of the women there, and I didn't like it. Meaning it was like watching R. Kelly, meaning as soon as he walks in the office, there are women like grabbing at him, like Dr. York, like grabbing at him. He's walking and they're like grabbing his legs. You never see no shit like this before. You're like, he's not Elvis. He's like, what is going on here? Damn. And then he humiliates them by being like, get off me, bitch. Like, stop touching me. Like, that's his MO, right? And then I'll never forget this one lady, he was talking to her about something. And like those rolls that you put magazines in, or rather posters, those poster boards, like a cylinder, you put a poster in it. Mm-hmm. She had showed him some design because, the sisters were writing all the books, doing all the art. They were basically the mastermind behind the whole organization, actually. So with that being said, she's coming to him with some designs, and he literally looks at them and puts it back in there, and then he busts her in the head with it. He's like, what do you think about that? Boop, did I tell you to do it like that? He's humiliating her with this. It's just, and I was like, huh. So that same day, I don't remember if he asked everyone to leave, but all of a sudden everyone was gone. And it's just me and him in the office. And he said, come here, I want to talk to you. And I'll never forget, because it was like 3:00 in the afternoon, and this is like late summer. So it was still bright outside, like 3-4 o'clock in the afternoon. And he's talking to me. And y'all, the last thing I just remember like I blunked, like I was blinking all of a sudden. And the last question that I remember was like, tell me about your mother. I heard like, tell me about your mother. And then it's like I'm blinking. And when I look outside, it's dark. And I'm like, I felt like I just blinked. And you was asking me, and then I was saying something. I heard myself answer the question, but then I I came to, it was the weirdest. It wasn't like a dream. It was 3:00 in the afternoon. I blink. I'm hearing a question. I'm hearing myself answer, and I'm kind of like blinking again, and then like I'm up, and it's nighttime now.
Oh no.
And so I'm like, and he's like, okay. And he looked kind of like, and if I remember correctly, I think I said something like, I love my mother. I serve something about the mother. But the way I was saying it, I remember my voice sounded different. Like it didn't. I just sounded weird, and I sounded like I was saying like I love the mother, but I remember like, is that me? Like it was just weird. And then he abruptly ends the conversation, and I remember like going to my house. It was nighttime, and I just being like, I felt like I was in a daze. Like I couldn't understand. How did I blink and it was nighttime? Like what happened? I go to bed like it's normal. I wake up the next day, and the women usher me in the office and say, "We need to talk to you." My Muslim name was Shaloma, so they said, "Shaloma, we need to talk to you." And I'm like, "What's up?" And they're like, "Your mother's on the way. We're gonna send you home. We think you're kind of depressed about what happened with your brother. So we're gonna send you home back to Augusta." And I remember feeling very sad because you're in the cult, so you're like, that's like being rejected. I'm 15 years old. I feel like I'm being rejected from my ultimate cult experience. Like, who wants to be? If I'm gonna be in the cult, I want to be here. If I'm gonna be in the organization, this is the epicenter where the organization matters. I want to be here. Yeah. I don't know that children are being molested and all this extra shit. And I'm not even putting 2 and 2 together with my mother telling me about, if you're gonna have sex with Dr. York and blah blah blah. And then when I leave the office, I see Dr. York, and I say, "Dr. York, and he runs away from me. He literally, but that's standard. There's so many rumors of Dr. York running. Dr. York runs from everybody he don't want to talk to. He don't let you corner him. He's not that type of teacher that's like, what you want? He see you, and if he don't want to talk to you, he runs away from you.
Oh, wow.
Fast.
So he took off because he was...
Took off.
Wow. Do you?
And I don't think I was tampered with. I think when I did my meditation on it years later, something says my higher self spoke up like on some the Great Mother type complex stuff, some Mothers of Heaven type stuff. I wasn't even referring to my birth mother, and whatever entity he saw in me, whatever energy he saw in me, he knew I was definitely not down with whatever he had going on, and was almost like he knew whatever I got on my energy, whatever's on my DNA, whatever my star seed family is. Right. Don't mess with this one. Leave this one alone. Throw this one back.
I believe so. I was going to say, I think even if you don't feel like you were drugged or anything, like literally drugged, it might have been.
I think he hypnotized me. I think he knew how to hypnotize a person just like that.
Yes.
And with that Om sound going all the time, it means you're already in a pre-trance, and then you're on a starvation diet. My food did eventually run out, so.
No, I was going to say the same thing. It was he put you in a hypnotic state to tap into what you really were about, and then once he figured, oh yeah, this is not for me. She's too whatever she is. Yeah, hard to work on. He couldn't tap into you like that. But I know Genesis. You said it's 2 hours, but I just want to ask one or two more questions because this is very.
And I also wanted to have you touch on the you talked about how you went to dinner with him. How he was talking to you.
Yeah. Okay. So it wasn't dinner. It was while I was living on Kadesh, he liked to go to Ingalls and go around town, almost like it's like he would be trolling the people of the town. And he would take only the girls with him, and it would be a group of girls, maybe 10 girls, a large group of girls, and the ages would be from like anywhere from like, I'm gonna assume as old as 10, but maybe that little girl was 8. It was some little ones there, 10 to 18, 16, like that. I was 15, and we would be he would like buy a little little snacks, and here I go with the food thing again. So I got to get a sandwich while everybody's getting an apple. I'm like, can I get a sandwich? Can I get a bagel? Right. And he's like, because he's a foodie, he's like, sure, go ahead. Look at you being different. Why y'all? And he would use those instances, and I would feel bad because he would use that moment to ask them why they getting a damn apple and we in Ingalls and there's donuts over here, because he's eating donuts and whatever, and I'm getting a bagel, and he's asking them, he's shaming them for basically towing the line.
But in reality, he has told them, you better not ask for a donut. That's the gaslighting. So but go on.
Exactly. So his conversation was always centered around sex and relationship and marriage, or anything that would go into the area of like, one conversation I'll never forget because it was so inappropriate. It wasn't hinting at inappropriateness. It was inappropriate. And I knew it was because of the age group that was with us. And he says, well, if you don't suck your man dick, he gonna get somebody else to suck it, maybe another man. And then he points at one of the older girls who's like 18. He's like, ask her. She know about her man be on the stage sucking dick and shit, doing all this weird stuff. And he's just having this conversation about sucking dick in marriage. And if you don't do it, some man gonna do it. I would never forget that. He didn't say another woman. He said, if you don't do it, some man gonna do it. And this little girl's here, and I'm just trying to understand, why is we having this conversation? Mm-hmm. I'm 15. I'm in regular public school. I know this is not right. Yeah, but it wouldn't matter.
I'm wondering if you said something about that in your trance, like And when you said about sucking, you probably said something like,
I probably said, "Hey, that was inappropriate, sir." You never know, because I was asked to leave, and he never. And I don't see him. The next time, I also believe, in my own humble opinion, I do think there was some like MK Ultra Manchurian candidate stuff going on with Dr. York, because we saw him in different states. He had different personalities, literally. So fast forward to, I am now pregnant with my first child from my cult marriage to the 25-year-old. At this time now he's 27. I basically have a baby with him fresh out of high school, graduating, and I have had the baby, and I see Dr. It's like we lived in Edenton, Georgia. So if you lived in Edenton, Georgia, you got more access. And I'm married to the guy who's one of his sound engineers. So we were always on the land, like little dutiful, cult people. We were always up there because he was visiting his friends, whatever. It wasn't necessarily to see Dr. York. If you were in a certain way, you could just go to the land and hang out with your people on the land. It wasn't even about Dr. York, And Tariq, that was my ex mate's name. He had that type of access. But I'll never forget, I was eating a sandwich because he used to sell food on the land. I was eating food again. I was eating a sandwich, and I see Dr. York. But the way I see him, he's like, he has the body language of like an unruly toddler, if you will, because the brothers got him hemmed up, and he's not fighting, but he like how a toddler would be shifting in an adult's, like if two parents were trying to hold their toddler and get him to, it was like that. And then when he saw me, he broke free, literally like, ha, look at you, you're fat. And his face and his body language, his voice was like a little kid.
He said,
and I remember being, he's like, look at you, you're fat now, you're fat. It was the weirdest shit I ever seen in my life, because Dr. York don't talk like, I've never heard of a rumor of Dr. York ever doing drugs. Maybe drinking a little bit, but never no like drugs. I've never, not no pot, not no crack, cocaine.
No, you're not the first person that has said he's changed person. I would not be surprised if he didn't have DID, like dissociative.
Yes, he did have that. Because he would be when he was teaching, he was a very different person teaching than when he was like, he would teach, and that was different. Then when he was in conversation, he was different. Then when he was around the women, that was different. When he was talking to the brothers, he was different. And then he had this other personality that was like
he had multiple personalities.
He had multiple personalities.
Wow,
he had multiple personalities.
Like a hood person, and it's crazy because all these things sound exactly like Nature Boy.
Oh, yes, definitely. But you know what? I was thinking the exact same thing about Nature Boy, and I was also thinking about Polite. Polite has different personalities. We don't really, it's interesting that because DID is so common and basically multiple personalities, these people have also been abused, and it might go back, not trying to go down the rabbit hole with our tinfoil hats, but they may have been really groomed to, with MK Ultra.
That's what it's smelling like and looking like. Because we can, I hope you definitely do call me. I really want to talk to you about what the other things I know that I don't feel comfortable saying on the internet, because I do work in the professional space, and some things are speculative, but then there's things that even though you're speculating, what you know because you've seen it, and I would love to talk to you more in depth about some of the ritual and the ritual abuse type things, as well as why I think he really got locked up, which I do not talk about that publicly. That's something I keep to my own, because it's my opinion.
I would love to talk to you about it. And you might not, I'm just this first time talking to you. You're an insider, but you're different than the insiders I've spoken to, because a lot of the people, even Chuck Morgan, I don't know if you've ever sat down with Chuck.
He was one of the first channels I watched that I saw someone else is talking about what it was really like. And he comes from the brother's perspective, and his stories, like I know some of the people he's talking about. I know the culture. So I knew he was telling the truth of his experience of when he was down with the clique, as they say.
Yeah, I was going to say.
I knew he wasn't lying.
When I say there's like I'd say a good 10, maybe around 10, almost 10 people I've talked to. You and Chuck I can tell it's really authentic, where you not only do you tell what happened, and it sounds very, very valid. You're unique, and Chuck didn't participate. I really believe him on that. He didn't see it, because I'm listening to you didn't know that these women were, because you were shocked about the oral stuff.
you heard things, you saw things. Like I've seen women fighting in the community over a man, or I heard little rumors of so and so was violated by this person, and you think the rumor was about a child being violated by an adult, but you don't know. You're a child yourself. You don't push those conversations. It's just something you think you heard. You just see certain dads. Once we start living together, you see certain things that you just know are not like cool. And then by the time we're an adult, like I read the court transcript because that's my brother, and they're in the process of folding him into our family unit now. So with that being said, I read the court transcript, and I was the one in my family that said, he's been locked up for a year. Why are his pictures still on the wall? Why are Dr. York's pictures still up? And he molested your son.
On the wall of the family house?
In our house, yes. We still had his pictures prominently placed up in the house. We were still, as he was arrested, it was, and I was the one that made them take it down. I said, why would you? So when David comes to visit, he has to see this. Like, this is wild. What are y'all doing?
How is he doing?
Like,
how is David?
He's doing very well. He's doing very, very well. He's working. He's got his little family. He's come through a lot. He's come, the children who are raising, and then you got to think about it. He was raised thinking this man was his father.
Right. Like Polite said, and I don't know how much of that was true, but I could
Polite
see.
Polite is like how many people are, which means it's a point in time. Like for me, I wrote the letters to Dr. York as a little girl, not understanding how my friends were getting these rings, and I was like, I want to ring Dr. York. I'm a good Muslim little girl, and I'm sending these love letters to Dr. York on some spiritual stuff because I just want freedom, some jewelry, and a chance to go to Disney World. Right? That's what I'm seeing on the outside. Little do I know they're already asking me to come to the land for my mother, who's saying no, 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 no. When she thinks it's good, which just happens to be after I've experienced this really traumatic event, and I'm 15 years old, which is closer to 16, which is closer to 17 in the South, if you get my drift, So then it's okay for me to go. And she tells me, she says literally, if Dr. York tries to fuck you, whether you do it or not, call me.
I got to say this too, because I get scrutinized, and there's so many people always trying to twist my words. So I'd be remiss, even though this might get edited out, I want to make it clear. We do not condone in any way, shape, or form grown men being with children or even teenagers who are not mentally capable of making sound
Nor do
decisions.
I.
Now, I'm saying all of us, but I want to say this. That doesn't mean that we don't understand as intelligent people and being experienced in the world with different cultures. That doesn't mean we don't know that it still happens, and we have the right to speak in this way. So I wanted to make that clear. There are cultures like Caribbean cultures.
It happens. But they're groomed that whole life. There's a support system in place for that. It's not no weird shit going on. I mean, it's weird, but it's their culture, and there's rules, and there's standards, and there's an expectation of you taking care of this woman and her still getting skill sets and da-da-da and da-da-da and forward and forward. Yes. But then there's some organizations that take those guidelines and pervert them.